Well, hi friends again. I'm here now with the wonderful crew of the USS Initiative. So let's check in with them and see how everyone is doing. Raven, how are you? Welcome back to the crew. It's been a while.
It has. Hello. I'm doing pretty well.
Excited for tonight? You've got that potential ice coming that Ro has not been looking forward to.
Yeah, that's already been on my mind. I was like, oh crap, I hope there's no ice. There needs to be no ice.
Well, we can hope.
Or something.
Yeah, well, we can hope. We can see what happens. We also have the wonderful Aram playing Siltek Null. How you doing? Welcome back to the crew.
Yeah, thank you. This is a very pleasant and welcome distraction. It is very good to see you all again.
And speaking of people that it is lovely to see, we have the wonderful Jordan. How you doing tonight, friend?
I am so good. I'm having a weird day, but it's a good day. So I'm ready for some Star Trek adventures.
You look very comfy, I have to say, and I'm very jealous.
Yes, we're changing our streaming setup, and the couch is now where I can stream everything on it, so I might be lounging for the rest of our sessions.
That is cute.
I would not blame you. And last but not least, we have the wonderful Max. How are you doing tonight, friend?
I'm doing very well. I have missed the Star Trek cruise so much. It was a lot of fun to take those 2 weeks to play Dishonored, but we've left it on a weird point, so I want to see where this goes. I'm excited.
Yes. Yeah, we did leave it on a bit of a cliffhanger. We don't have the wonderful Darby with us tonight, but we're sending him all of the love from us here at the crew, and hopefully he'll be back with us next week for more adventuring. But yes, before I go ahead and remind everybody what happened, there are a couple of other things. So don't forget you can interact with the stream. Down at the bottom, just below this window, you can find the bits menu if you want to give and tip our wonderful cast with critical successes or critical fails, passing on banes or boons to them, or even ultimate power, which means perhaps we can make something super amazing happen for the finale that's next week. You can catch up on all of the shows on YouTube. And if you're watching on YouTube, hi! Thank you so much for watching. So if you've missed the last couple of episodes of Star Trek, or you want to check out the Dishonored two-shot that we did, or any of the other awesome games here on Encounter Roleplay, you can head over to the YouTube and check them out there. Again, a huge shout out to our sponsor, Modiphius, who obviously makes this game, and our wonderful partners at World Anvil. If you type in !World Anvil into chat, you will get a discount code. It's Encounter RP, and that gives you 20% off 6 to 12 month subscriptions. And there's also some promo codes for Wormwood for free US shipping and $10 off international shipping by typing in, I think it's !Worm. We do have a bunch of other awesome sponsors here at Encounter Roleplay, and I'm going to let Past Charlie tell you all about those. Take it away, Past Charlie.
Before we begin today's show, I would like to take some time to remind you about our sponsors. Fantasy Grounds, our virtual tabletop of choice. All of the beautiful maps and roles you see tonight are done using Fantasy Grounds, which you can try for free at fantasygrounds.com. You can also get all of your miniatures from Wayland Games. Go to waylandgames.co.uk and get yourself a huge range of D&D, Warhammer and 40k minis for up to 20% off regular retail price. And Tabletop Loot, who sell incredible dice. Go and check them out at tabletoploot.com.
Thank you, Past Charlie, for that awesome transmission about our wonderful sponsors here. But now, since we've all been waiting so long, let's get back into Star Trek Initiative. So, when we left off, our characters had arrived at the planet Ashgrave to deal with a sensitive diplomatic incident. The planet was a place of pilgrimage for many different cultures and species across the Federation. So much so that the planet itself, despite being in Federation space, was declared a neutral planet. so that no one could have ownership of it, and so that everyone could feel free and be free to come here and practice their pilgrimages and their religion. Recently, however, we had word that a select group had come up saying they were speaking for the creator, the true God that existed here, and that it was confused and angry about something, and that it was trying to get everybody to unite under the same banner, and that was causing some tension. Starfleet naturally have got involved, but have to be careful because the planet doesn't belong to the Federation, and Starfleet have no true jurisdiction here, except what they're allowed within reason to help try and sort the problem. Upon being confronted by the group who saved them from what appeared to be a demonic attack, they were taken to see an angel, a real angel in the flesh, or the energy spectrum as they found out, but they did indeed speak to one. It warned of something coming, only to find out from their ship in orbit that a massive storm had begun to make its way across the planet to the centralized colony here. They managed to race back with the use of horses, and we left them as the storm was only a few minutes out, deciding what they wanted to do. We had Chief Petty Officer Rowe, who could already sense the temperature dropping and saw what perhaps was ice or snow coming in from the distance with this storm, wrapped with lightning and fire in this blaze. You tried, Rowe, to get an EV suit, but unfortunately the communications to the ship were cut, and you were told that the captain had forbidden the use of the transporters because of the dangerous conditions. Malco, our wonderful doctor, was among many of the crew trying to help people get to safety, trying to get people to shelter as this sudden storm appeared, along with Illyria and Tristan, who were also helping some people get to safety, finding people who were out in the open, perhaps panicking, and trying to get them to a structure that looked sturdy enough to withstand the storm. And Siltek also looking for people to help, but we left him standing along with a Klingon who defiantly refused to seek shelter, instead saying that he would be protected if he stood strong, with the plan that if he couldn't convince him to find shelter, he would stun him and drag him to shelter himself. And that is where we find ourselves, back in this kind of courtyard area where people are running for cover as this storm begins to come in, this haze of orange and fire and what looks like ice or snow, these lightning bolts that are appearing out of the sky that strike closer and closer. And as they reach the edge of the colony, although you can't quite make out the buildings, you can see where the lightning strikes, plumes of black smoke begin to appear as the storm moves in. And we never really got to do this the last time round, but I want to see how are all of your characters feeling as this event is happening, what's running through their minds. And I want to start with you, Siltek, as you took this defiant stand alongside this Klingon. Perhaps somebody that normally you wouldn't be able to stand beside in the way that you are, but you watch as Batleth ready, he braces himself for this coming storm, eyes unsure of what he's going to do, but the eyes of a warrior nonetheless. What's running through Siltek's mind right now?
I think fear, anyone will be afraid in this kind of situation, but with Siltek, this is what he signed up for. He was raised in Montana. He spent a lot of time near Cochrane's statue. He spent a lot of time thinking about that first launch, about that first step into space, and how about he would not be safe and alive if the Federation had not given him a home. So I think what he's thinking in this exact moment is, this is what I signed up for, and he just cracks his neck with all his little, exterior bones, and he gets ready for whatever is coming.
Okay, and you can see this Klingon. He's not moving. He kind of like pushes his feet into the ground, and the kind of dust and dirt that is kicked up around you in the sand as he braces his position, holding his Batleth, and he glances beside you, kind of nods, taking recognition in the fact that you are standing here beside him. even
think-
in your Starfleet uniform. There is no animosity here. There is only the respect that you
I think I'd reach. Oh, sorry.
no, just that you two have taken up this position of you don't know how you're going to confront it, but you're going to confront it. But I think you said you were about to say you did have a phaser at the ready, didn't you?
Yeah, I think I'd reach for my phaser. I'd meet the Klingons, stare, nod at him, and say, "I reckon today's a good day to die," and just get ready for whatever's happening next.
And he looks back at you, and he doesn't even say anything. You can see he's got this laser focused concentration as he turns to you, and he kind of grunts in agreement, just braces himself even further, kind of almost leaning into it, like waiting for something to hit. The way that
Yeah.
you might brace in battle to have, an army run at you and just smash towards you. That's what he's doing. It looks like he'd be more fitting with a shield than with a bat'leth in this moment. But that's what he's getting ready for. We have Malco. You are helping people get to shelter. And, a lot of people have now sought shelter, and you've only got kind of the streets just around this courtyard. You can't do anything for the entire colony itself. But what are you doing as how are you feeling as you're grabbing people, Andorians, humans, Klingon, people from all of these places, Federation planets that you perhaps have visited, and as you are trying to get them to safety, pushing people into the doorways of buildings, into the arms of other people who are taking cover? What's running through your mind as you're in what is literally a crisis situation?
I think a lot of what's going through his head is he's trying really hard to not necessarily be overwhelmed by this coming massive storm, not overwhelmed by fear of it, and so he's focusing as much as possible on every single person that he can get his hands on to safety. He knows that at a certain point he can only do so much, but until that point he's going to do every single thing he can to make sure that he can save as many as possible. But definitely feeling that fear, but trying to push it down as much as possible.
It's like that professionalism, right? Where you're panicking as a person, but as a Starfleet officer, you're trying to keep your head above water there and, pull out as much as you can before that takes over. Okay.
Absolutely.
Then we also have Ro. As you were stood in this courtyard square, hadn't even had a chance yet to, try and act to grab people to help, but made that call to the ship for the EV suits, offering a particular, not even ensign, I don't think now. I can't remember what you demoted him to now, but, poor transport operator, and you offered to take off your shit list if he could get you an EV suit, but unfortunately he couldn't. And that's the news that you've just heard. The captain's forbidden the use of the transporters, and as he apologizes, transmission goes dead as the storm cuts out the communications. How is Ro feeling in this moment as you're seeing this storm come towards you like nothing you've ever seen before? It's not the darkening of clouds that perhaps you'd seen on Earth in any time that you'd spent there with Starfleet, where dark clouds roll in and you get thunder. It's this maelstrom coming towards you.
So Ro, sort of the internal monologue is going, okay, well, EV suits aren't an option. There's really no way to avoid this, so crap, let's just do this. And just sort of goes into soldier mode and starts focusing on getting people to whatever safety she can. And kind of pushes that fear of what she was told in that prediction to the back of her mind, with just the sort of acceptance of there's nothing I can do about it, so I can't think about it right now. And she starts trying to help people.
Okay, so like overcoming that. Cool. So you kick into action as well, like your fellow colleagues, pushing people towards doorways, people that are finding themselves in that kind of overwhelmed state where they, like deer in the headlights, can't even find themselves to move. You're kind of grabbing and pulling along. And then we fall to Illyria. You are with Tristan, as he kind of called you over to help previously, help get people to safety, start organizing where people should go, finding good structures for people to get into that hopefully won't collapse when they're battered by this storm. And at some point in this hustle and bustle and this chaos, you lose sight of him. He was there 1 minute right beside you as you grabbed a family of 4 and started hurrying them towards what looked like a very strong building. Thick walls, well built, looks to be a Federation building of some kind. You can tell by the kind of the etched plaques on the outside. As he grabs a few and passes the kids towards you, as you then kind of rush them into the building. And somebody inside is opening the door, letting people in. And as you turn back to check that all of the family have now entered, Tristan is gone. You can't see him anywhere. You see more people panicking and running and getting to shelter, but Tristan is not there. You look for the blue of his Starfleet uniform, and you can't see it. What is going through Illyria's mind in this moment as this chaos is happening and then Tristan isn't there?
I think that she as a person is number one, whereas some may feel like this is what they're called to do. This is not what she was called to do. This is not what she signed up for. She does not want to be on planets in general. She belongs, she is one with the ship. So I think that sense of stress already is uneasy. Going along with, I think last time I talked about how like she's almost intrigued by this religion, like it's something she hasn't experienced, and so like all of that's going on in her head, and then while she's like in this chaos state of where you're trying to be calm, but you feel so chaotic because you're in a chaotic moment, but you have to be calm, to now lose somebody who she feels like she has a connection with because of some of the stuff that's happened prior. Now she's almost in a freeze moment of like, do I place myself in the midst of chaos to find somebody, or do I say, shrug my shoulders and go hide for shelter? Like, is it about me, or am I gonna step outside of my comfort zone to try to find where they are? Are there a lot of people like out on the streets currently, or have we gotten most of the people in?
There were quite a lot of people here when you arrived. Obviously, you arrived as the storm was kind of becoming properly visible. So lots of people had, you imagine, taken shelter because there were warning sirens going off. But by this point, the streets are a lot emptier. The courtyard itself is emptier. You can spot your other crewmates. You can spot Siltek with this Klingon who is just bracing himself in this main courtyard area, just waiting for something to happen. But for the most part, people appear to either be just getting in and making their way to shelter. You've kind of grabbed most of the people between you all that perhaps were a bit shell-shocked by what was happening and kind of didn't know what to do. And as soon as you have kind of taken charge, people have followed suit, helping each other get to safety. So yeah, it is quite empty now, save for a handful of people who are still running to the nearest shelter, and your crewmates who are still out here.
I think that she's going to probably start yelling their name and run down, and as she passes, crewmates ask if they've seen Tristan. And then if she cannot find him quickly and danger is imminent, she will go ahead and hide.
Okay. I want you to go ahead and make me a... what is this going to be? Just make me a reason command test. It's going to be, if you're specifically looking for Tristan, this is going to be difficult. It's difficulty 4. If you want to try and get an idea perhaps of where he was going, or find somebody, whether it's crew or just people who are still running to safety that might have seen him.
I don't even know.
That's okay. So you're gonna add your reason to your command. It's been a couple of weeks. Add your reason to your command, and then you're gonna roll 2d20 unless you want
Sorry.
to. It's okay.
Why did it drop? I meant I didn't know if I wanted to look for him specifically or. Oh my goodness. Sorry. I got logged out for some reason.
That's okay.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Would Ro possibly notice Illyria's sort of frozen state at all?
I mean, you can if you wish to. It's whether unless Illyria is trying to kind of hide that panic specifically, then yeah, you can easily notice it. Unless Illyria is trying to kind of keep that under wraps, then you're gonna have to make a roll to try and spot that in her.
Okay.
Is Illyria's panic kind of obvious to the rest of the crew?
Yeah, she's very uneasy. She's not like it's not like she's like completely lost all of her cool, but you can tell that she's very uncomfortable and is very not okay with everything that's going on currently.
So, my thought here, Ro, having been through the Cardassian border wars, like she is in like soldier war mode, and one of her big things is looking out for her officers, because despite the fact that she's a technically a lower rank, she has more practical experience than most of them. So I think she'd probably spot that pretty quickly and try to help, kind of like bring them back to focus, and give them something to do. Could I use my inspiration focus for that?
Yeah. Depends what kind of effect you're trying to have. If you just want to kind of help Illyria, I'm happy for you to kind of do that narratively as long as Illyria wants to go along with it. But at this point, you know, most of the people have got to shelter. It's about anything else that you want to do before this storm actually breaks properly into the area that you're in. You can feel the winds picking up. You can feel that kind of, you know, when there's lots of lightning, you get that kind of weird static in the air and the smell of kind of like ozone. It's like that. That's stronger now. The winds are picking up, you know, it's almost like when you get gale force winds and they kind of push against you and it's hard to keep your balance for a moment. That's where you're kind of building up to now.
Okay. Yeah, I was kind of thinking like if Ro knows she's looking for Tristan or something like that to help her focus on that task, but if it's starting to get more and more imminent, she'll probably be like, you know, look, we can find Tristan later. They're an officer. We've all been trained. They'll be fine. We need to get to shelter.
Okay, and is that what you're going to try and do then, Ro, is get to shelter now? Okay, Illyria,
yeah.
Do you go along with that? Oh, we'll give Jordan a second. That's okay. Let's head over then to Siltec.
Mhm.
Storm is beginning to break over this area now. You can feel yourself being pushed backwards by the sheer force of it as lightning strikes only a few streets down as it just begins to engulf this area. And you can see now that haze of what looked like fire is a haze of almost white-orange light, similar to the white-orange light that you saw before when you met the angel. But deep within that horrible reddish orange hue, that darker, more malevolent looking color, you suddenly start to realize what that is as you are the closest to kind of these outer streets, while I imagine everyone else is kind of in the courtyard and streets behind. Those demons again. And you watch as through the wind of this storm that's kicked up so much dust you can barely see too far into the distance, begin to hammer on doors, begin to rip apart buildings made, some of the more kind of crudely constructed buildings, some of the ones that aren't made of kind of concrete or sturdier materials. if they can get those horrible deep claws into parts of it and rip things apart, they do, smashing windows. You can hear people screaming. You can see this lightning coming down as the storm appears to not just be a horrible manifestation of weather, but it appears to bring these demons with it.
How large are these demons?
They're the same as, very similar to the ones that you saw before. Their individual shape varies a little bit. You get some that are closer to like traditional human demons. Some have other forms like horns or facial features that resemble the equivalent of demons in other faiths. But they are about the same size. They stand taller than, about 6 foot, if not a little bit taller. The height varies a bit. But they are characterized by that horrible deep red skin and vicious looking horns of some kind and those horrible claw-like hands.
I guess I would turn to my my Klingon friend. But y'all got demons back where you come from?
He looks at you confused. And then
And I
he
would,
looks
make
back.
the horns.
He understands. He doesn't. I think it's the word. You imagine it's the word demons.
Sure.
Perhaps
right.
they don't call them that. But he spits out a few words in Klingon that you can imagine is whatever the name is for them. Virginia doesn't actually know.
Fair enough.
Klingon lore is not my strong suit, unfortunately. But he nods, and you watch as this storm begins to sweep over, and it's horrible. It's so quick, but it's like everything's in slow motion. As you see him begin to charge towards the nearest of these creatures.
Okay, I'll
you
back
do
him up
anything?
then. I will set my phaser to maximum stun for the beginning, and I will back him up and try and clear a path.
Okay, he runs forward, and some of you, if you're in the courtyard, if you haven't taken shelter inside a building, might see this as you hear this Klingon scream his war cry and run in with his batleth, and he goes up against one of these demons and begins carving at it. And it begins to fight back, and it pushes him away with a swipe of the claw, just as you come in, Siltek, and you can see it's tearing apart at the glass window that it's smashed, and it's now pulling apart the wooden beam between it, attempting to claw its way inside this house, and from beyond you can hear the screaming of a family and several other people who you are assuming have taken shelter in here as this thing throws this Klingon back, who lands in the dirt beside you, picking himself up as it tries to claw its way in. What do you do?
I will run over to my fallen companion and I will fire at this demon.
Okay, you skid over. Go ahead and make that attack roll. So it is a ranged attack. So this is going to be control and security at difficulty 2, but it doesn't get to roll against you.
Control and security at difficulty 2. That means I got 12 total to try and get this. 10 and 18, so that was 1 success, sadly.
1 success. It's not enough. You fire off the phaser blast, but your aim is not as steady as it usually is. As this gust of wind kicks up, as you're now starting to get within the storm, the visibility goes down. This Klingon has made his way back up on his feet, and you can now barely see this window as the dust kicks up, as that orange haze takes over everything. And we're going to switch over then to Malco. Malco, at this point, have you taken cover? Are you still out in the open? What are you doing? Because you can now see this is starting to hit. Visibility is starting to drop, this horrible orange haze, and you can hear the snarls and growls of these creatures whose reddish figures you can make out as they begin to roam the streets, tearing at anything at rapid speed.
At this point, he would be mostly in cover. I would say at hearing the sounds of the creatures, he would have gone up towards, not necessarily out into the street, but like into a doorway if he could have, and just to see if anything was coming directly towards his location.
So describe to me, you're standing in this doorway. What is this building? doorway as you're standing is it a home? Is it a small like chapel like structure of some kind? How many people are in here? Like you tell me. This is obviously a building you've been ushering people into, so what is this?
I would say this building is probably a smaller chapel, because he would go for a building that can hold a lot of people, or at least more people than a home. And he's telling them to find a point that's not anywhere near any potential windows, and if at all possible, because he wouldn't necessarily have a chance to investigate too much, but if possible, get to like a basement level or go underground if they could. But he would have mostly been just trying to stand either in a doorway or by a doorway, just yelling for people to come towards him to get to safety, and then eventually just make sure, as once everyone made their way in, that they were okay, but would stay near an entrance or so.
Okay, so you stand in the entrance of this small, you can only describe it as a chapel, but it's some kind of place of worship that looks like it would have been used for Andorian rituals. It's not the traditional chapel inside. There is a much more militaristic style to it. Not that you get to admire it for very long, however, as you usher people inside. It looks sturdy, though. The walls themselves look thick to be well made. And as you stand in this doorway, trying to see out into the street, you see the storm swallow up Siltek and this Klingon. And as the visibility drops, you can see these creatures, some of them tearing their way into buildings on the other side of the street, just as you can make out. You can't see it necessarily, but you can make out the forms. You can hear the tearing of materials, not just from them, but from the storm itself, as bits of building begin to crumble. Anything that's loose, plantware, stalls, shops, it all gets picked up in this wind as you see debris just flying down the streets. And one of these creatures begins to make its way, you think, towards where you are. You don't know if it can see you. You just see this figure that starts out dark, and you see the red coming towards you until suddenly it's almost in your face. What do you do?
I would say at that point, having heard the sounds of the creatures coming towards his location, he would have prepared his phaser just in case. So I think if possible, once it gets right up to him, he's going to try and stun it.
Okay, go ahead and make that roll. That's going to be a control security test, and it's going to be difficulty 2. That's actually going to go up by 1 now because of the bad visibility. You've also got all this flying debris, so it is going to be difficulty 3. You don't have any momentum at the moment, but would you like to give me any threat to have some extra dice?
I think I'll give you 1 threat to buy myself an extra dice.
Just 1?
Just 1.
Just 1, okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. So you're rolling 3d20, and it's not going to get a chance to try and resist because it's a ranged attack.
Okay. And then you said control and security?
Control and security, yeah.
Okay.
Do you have any focuses that might apply here?
I don't think so. Surgery, xenobiology, infectious diseases, triage. I don't believe anything.
Nothing combat related, right? No talents or anything that might help out?
Talents. No, most of my talents deal with medicine, so I don't believe anything.
Okay, so that is only 2 successes and a complication. However, all of you, I believe, should have a point of determination. So if you'd like to spend that to re-roll the dice, you may. So you can re-roll that 20. Or would you like to save it?
I am going to spend it to re-roll because he's going to do everything that he can to make sure that he can save as many people as possible. So I think this is
okay. So go ahead and re-roll that complication. and see if you get another success.
Nope.
No, but it's not a complication though. That's the upside. You fire off a few shots, but unfortunately, where one would have hit square, like center body mass, a nice good solid hit, there's a load of debris that comes flying down the road that strikes in the way of the phaser blast. You watch as the energy kind of spurs outwards. Some catches this creature, but not enough, it seems, to do anything to it, as this explosion of something going off in its face kind of confuses it, and it's just gonna lash out as it's running forward. It's not quite blinded, but it too is probably having trouble with this visibility. So I'm gonna go ahead and make an attack roll for it. It is melee, so you do get to defend against it. I'm not gonna spend any threat to buy extra dice. So this is going to be daring and security for it, which is a total of 15. And melee attacks are difficulty 1, so that's 1 success. So if you want to roll to resist that, you're going to be using daring plus security, and you can roll dice if you wish. Sorry, you can buy extra dice if you wish, but if not, you're just rolling 2d20.
I'm just gonna stick with the 2 for now.
Sure. So you just got to get you've got to beat me on more than 1 success, basically.
Okay. That is, well, so my total was 10. So
Yeah, that'll do it. That's 2 successes. So
Whew.
you actually gain a point of momentum. But also, because this is Star Trek Adventures, this counts because it essentially failed and you succeeded. You get to act as if you are the one doing it melee damage. So, you can't fire your phaser off, obviously. You've only got what I imagine is, unless you've got any other hand weapons, it's just going to be your fists. But you tell me what you do as this creature swings at you, and you manage to shift out of the way, having a bit of better visibility because you've got the cover, so there's not as much in your eyes. And you manage to land a solid whack on it. Go ahead and roll your unarmed strike damage and describe that to me.
sure. So that is just the 2d6, I believe, for unarmed.
Um,
'Cause I have
what
a
is
2 next to
your
the.
what's your security skill? It should be you should see it on the little, there'll be a little delta, Starfleet delta, and then a number next to your unarmed strike.
Okay, yeah, that's 2.
2, yeah.
Okay. So as it kind of swings out, there we go. As it swings out to hit him, he's just basically gonna lean back to avoid it, and then just kind of take his hand with the phaser in it and just whip him with it.
Nice. Okay. So obviously, for anyone new who is watching the stream, Star Trek Adventures uses symbols on its dice for damage. So 1's a 1, 2's a 2, 3 and 4 are blank, 5 and 6 are a point of damage and an effect. So the 4 is a blank, unfortunately, but that 1 is a point of stress. So it is going to take that. As you hear it, as you like hit it. Actually, do you know what? You've got the phaser in your hand, so you're almost like pistol whipping it. Go ahead, add an extra d6. I think since you've said that you've got the phaser in your the hand that you're doing it with, I want to give you that little extra point of damage. It's a blank, unfortunately, but you take the hand with the phaser in and smack it, and it hasn't. You don't think it's done much. You can feel kind of how solid this creature is. It's just as muscular as it looked like the first time you encountered it, but you do hear it roar back as you obviously catch it somewhere on the torso or maybe the neck or the face that's caused it some pain. But we're going to pull away from you there as we head back over to Ro and Illyria. And Ro, you were trying to get Illyria into shelter, right? The both of you into shelter?
Yeah, trying to get her to kind of focus on basically minute by minute instead of looking at the whole picture. So Rose just trying to help her, go from task to task to get through this. And so she's just talking to her like, hey, Commander Farron, we got to find shelter. We got to get these people to the shelter. Don't worry about anything else. One step at a time.
can you hear me? First of all. Yay, okay, woo! I think that Alira is gonna look at you and like focus in and be like, okay, I'm focused on finding Tristan. And like just kind of freeze for a second and look for you to like affirm that that's okay.
So Ro just kind of goes to the speech of like, again, of, all right, look, we have no idea where Tristan is. We know where these people are. These people need our help. Tristan's trained. They'll find shelter. We need to get these people to safety. This is our job. We need to trust him to do his job.
Alira, under her breath, she's gonna take a deep breath, like, oh my gosh, why me? And then under her breath, literally mutter, this is why I don't come to planets. And like start getting people where they're supposed to be. She's still a little bit on edge, but you realize that like you like telling her this is your game plan really helps, because for her, like, life is like a series of blueprints and you must follow them. So she's kind of calm, she's doing what she's supposed to do, but she's also really bitter because this is not what she signed up for.
Okay, and as the both of you grab the few remaining people here to grab them and take them to shelter, you can see the storm has properly taken hold over this area, and these demonic creatures, like your crewmates are seeing, are now rampaging through the streets, tearing at whatever they can, causing chaos and destruction in their wake. We're going to head back over to Siltek as your visibility is dropping rapidly. Standing up from the kind of semi-crouched position that you had beside your Klingon friend here is difficult. As you can see, the creature now is disappearing through the window, and you can hear the screams beyond, but you can no longer really see it.
So, shoot. I would turn to... Is my Klingon friend on his feet? Or is he still getting up?
He's on his feet, but you can actually see he, like... Same as you're almost being blown backwards, and he's almost like stabbed this bat'leth into the ground as he uses it to pull himself up against this sheer wind that's happening.
How far am I from this window?
10, 12 feet maybe.
And this Klingon's big?
Is a big, tough-looking Klingon. You know, exactly
Whatever the Klingon...
what if you...
He's like a big guy, right?
Yeah, however,
yeah.
I don't know if Siltek has ever met a Klingon.
No, heard of him.
He is as big and beefy as you have been told, and has built up in your mind a Klingon might be.
All right. Whatever the Klingon word for yeet is, I want him to yeet me into that window. I'm going to I'm going to take a run and jump. He's going to throw me as hard as he can, and I want to get into that window.
This is what you tell him. You want him to throw you into the window.
Mm-hmm. The Klingon word, by the way, for demon is Vekla. Throw me after the Vekla.
And he looks at you, and there is that moment in his eyes where you clearly see that he's doing a double take to make sure you have just said what he thinks you've just said. But you see what he does. He takes the bat'leth. Actually, do you know what? Go ahead and roll me a presence command test with a difficulty of 2.
All right.
It's a little bit easier because you've stood with him. This would have been a lot more difficult had you just arrived on scene, had you not shown the kind of resilience. But he's got some respect for you, so...
1 success.
1 success. Okay, he looks at you, and he stabs the bat'leth into the ground. He shakes his head. No. We fight together. And he can see the difficulty you're having, both of you are having staying up. And he literally almost grabs you by the top of your uniform, pulling it at this really uncomfortable angle as he kind of pulls you forward with him. And he uses his bat'leth as he stabs it down into the floor ahead as he pulls you and him forward. So he doesn't throw you into the window, but he essentially drags you with him through this storm using the batleth almost as this very deadly walking cane as he gets you to the window. And he kind of shoves you through first.
Yeah.
And you're kind of halfway through this window. There's no nicety about it. He literally grabs you by the scruff of the neck and like tries to put you through this window. There's broken glass everywhere, so you are going to take it's just one dice of damage, a single point of stress as you go through this window, and there's broken glass and bits of masonry and wood that kind of scratch up and pierce the uniform. But you're halfway in now, if you like, and he's climbing in behind you, and you can see this demonic creature like throwing itself around inside this building as the handful of people in here scream and try to avoid it. There's an Andorian in here who looks like they've picked up some kind of table or piece of furniture and is trying to bat it away. What do you do?
I turn to my friend. What's the Klingon word for angel?
I don't know, Aaron. What
You
is
would
the
say
Klingon
whatever,
word
right?
for angel? Yeah. He replies to you. It's probably an even more guttural sound than you expected the word angel to be.
Right. Croc knock or whatever the heck he says, right? So I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, croc knock, and I would shout the word angel at the thing, grab whatever, like a curtain, a tablecloth, whatever, and try and climb up on its back and blind it to give everyone else a chance to get out, and just shout for them to run.
Make me a presence command test with a difficulty of 1.
Okay.
I've just been informed that it's New Kwanjai.
Oh, that's actually kind of pretty. That's nice.
New
Okay.
Kwanjai. I'm
Two
probably
successes.
butchering that. 2 successes. Okay.
In fact, one of them's
So-
5. Wait, I'm sorry. Oh no, the 5 isn't a double. Sorry, it's just 2 successes.
2 successes. Okay, so that is a point of momentum in the bank there. So you got 2 in the bank right now. As you leap up onto its back and you take this tablecloth, sending some kind of ceremonial display that's already been half knocked over, properly shattering to the floor. As you manage to kind of throw it over the top of these horrible curled horns and pull it round its eyes that begins to thrash. And almost in that moment, as you say this word, as you leap, just as you cover its eyes, you have a moment of thinking you wish you had covered yours, as there is this bright, blinding light that just materializes in front of this thing. Between, you've got this Andorian with this like table, the other side of this demon, and you on its back. It materializes between the demon and this Andorian. A figure that you've seen before. An angelic figure, much like the one that you witnessed with Annalise on one of the mountaintops, as it throws its arms out wide and these flaming wings appear, and it just lunges for this creature. And you can see from where you are, as you hold it steady, it can't defend itself, as this angel just seems to cave in its chest with a single forceful blow. And suddenly you hit the floor. The creature is gone. But this angel stands before you, and everyone in this room is in awe.
Like disintegrated, gone? Like vaporized, gone?
Much like what happened before, it's just kind of gone.
Yeah.
Like you almost feel it begin to crumple, and then you just hit the floor as if it just disappeared.
That's suspect, I imagine, right? It doesn't feel right.
That is almost entirely what happened the last time you
Yeah.
encountered the demons.
Yeah.
When apparently injured enough, they just disappear. And this angel stands there, and you can see this Klingon warrior behind you who had been what looks like kind of just stabbing at the back of it with its batleth. It's just in awe as it takes it in, and there's almost a horrible calm that takes over this room, and it feels unnatural. Much like when you first landed on the planet, the presence of this being there is just calm despite the chaos outside that you know is there.
Board up the window, board up the door. I mean, the only thing I can do is keep these people safe for right now, I'd imagine. Like throw a table in front of the door, just try and keep these people safe. Or unless we can get them to, if it looks like we can get them to the rest of the people, I'll do that. If not, we'll shelter in place.
I would say that even you would know that this this isn't a good time to move anybody, because you can see
Right.
these things wandering the streets. And in fact, by the time that you've even turned around to suggest boarding up the windows, this Klingon warrior appears to be reciting something to this angel, which almost nods at him as he leaps back out of this window, and you can hear him screaming his battle cry as the bat'leth makes contact with something else.
Damn it. All right, I'm after him. Going out. I can't leave him alone. I would turn to the others and be like, board this place up. Do not leave. Let no one in. And I'll go charging after him.
Okay, and the people in this room seem oddly calmed by this angelic being's presence and begin to do what they can to patch up the hole in the window as you leap out. And as you do, you see more of this. You see more bright lights, angelic beings that appear to be appearing in the streets. It's almost, in human terms, as perhaps some of the people you knew in Montana might say, it's almost biblical.
Right.
Just the
Okay.
scene that is before you.
At
And
that
as
point,
you-
obviously, it's not my turn anymore, but I'd put the phaser away and pull out a tricorder and take out as much data as possible.
Oh,
Because
if you
there's
want to
no
get
point in trying to
tricorder
fight.
out, I'll let you
Yeah.
roll for that.
Okay.
Go ahead and make me a... What is this going to be?
Fighting these
nervous
things
with
isn't going to
how
help. We need to
enthusiastic
know
you were
what they
about that.
are and what's going on. Yeah.
I'd like you to make me a either reason or insight plus science test, please.
Okay, I'll take insight. Oof.
That's
oof,
going to be
okay.
difficulty 1, because you previously have scanned
Right.
the angels and demons before.
Okay, I'm going to spend one of the momentum to give me an extra
Sure.
die. All right.
While we do that, a huge shout out to the wonderful architect Origins, who has donated £10 for a boon for somebody
Nice.
to receive something, which I'm not going to say yet, but I'm going to very quickly roll. I've got D4 here, so going clockwise, starting at Malco, being 1, moving round. Let's see who gets this. It is a 2. Illyria, you're about to receive a boon in a moment.
Nice. So
Okay.
my 2 counts as 2, my 1 counts as 3, my 10 counts as 1. I got 6 successes. Is that correct? Am I getting that right?
5 successes. So if you've
5
got a focus
successes.
that applies, the 2 is 2 successes, the 1 is 2 successes,
Oh,
the
okay,
10 is
okay.
another. So that's
Okay.
5 succses on a difficulty
Yeah.
1. So that is 4
I got
points of
protective.
momentum.
Does that count? No, I guess it wouldn't with this. I'm trying, y'all.
Um, I don't think protective would count here.
Yeah, it's more like
So does that-
investigative. Yeah.
Yeah, so does that 2 turn into a single success then?
No, it would still be. It's under the. It's under.
Only if you've got a focus in Star Trek.
Oh right, my science. Okay, you're right. It's only 4. I'm sorry. Yeah.
4 successes. Okay, so you get 3 points of momentum, which puts you on
Mhm.
4 points total.
was worth it.
So you scan this with your tricorder. You get a good lock on one as this Klingon warrior that you've met is currently beating the crap out of one of these demons as he just goes in. You've heard about Klingons fighting, but you're watching it in the flesh. There are a few things that you know as soon as you start taking readings. They read exactly the same energy signature as the demons you had before.
Mhm.
They read exactly the same energy signature as the angelic beings that you have
Mhm.
encountered before and are seeing here. Let me see. They are all made of the same type of energy. They are they are energy physically manifested. That's what you're looking at. And you're picking up some background radiation of this energy.
Hmm.
You'd need a ship-wide scan to scan like the planet for the true background of this, because you're down to the ground.
Right.
You're not going to be able to
Right.
pinpoint if that is a local thing, if that's a globalized thing, if it just covers an area. You're too too close to the source of it to get that kind of pulled out viewpoint.
Sure.
But the angels and the demons, same energy signature, exactly
It's
the
all
same.
the same. Okay. All right. As soon as I can, I'll get that information to the rest, starting with Commander Farron, because I bet she'd be able to do the best with it.
Okay, we will see how that goes on. I will roll some dice for that. As we do switch over to Ro and Illyria, as you are now kind of semi-within shelter, the windows of this building have blown out, and you can now see these angelic beings that you've encountered before begin to appear. They appear to be fighting off these demonic creatures. What are you doing in this building? People are frightened and afraid. You can see people reaching for anything at arm's length to use as some kind of weapon.
I think Ro is basically setting up a tactical position. So she's got her hand phaser out, probably by one of the blown out windows, sort of ducked down behind it, aiming at these demon things. Just watching for any that get past these angel-looking things, any that get too close to the building to basically defend that spot. But she will take a look back at Commander Farron and make sure that she's okay.
Illyria is totally zoned out because she is analyzing the area around her to see if there's anything that she can use, like in any of. I mean, she works on ships. She builds things. She's probably got her phaser out, like kind of fidgeting with it. But she's looking around to see if there's anything that she can use to help create a better barrier or to help like build something real fast that'll help. And if she can't, that's okay. But her brain is just going like a bajillion miles a minute, trying to find normality within the chaos. She's focused.
Okay. You look around, and the building that you're in, it's well built. It's a heavy metal construction. The walls themselves have aligned with some kind of metal alloy that gives them this very unique look. It looks like the metal itself has been engraved with something. It's kind of hard to tell as all the dust is kicking in. But what you do notice is that the plating on some of this has come loose. It looks like one of these creatures from the outside has made an attempt to just pummel through the wall, and it's kind of warped whatever material's behind it, pushing the plate slightly off. But you can see it's kind of bolted into the wall. As you look around the room for more, you know that your phaser could cut this, but it would take a while. You don't know the alloy exactly, but just looking at the way it reflects light, the thickness of it, you can gather quite how strong it would be. You have knowledge of these things, being an engineer. But sitting on a half-broken table, it's kind of rolled onto the floor, you spot something familiar-ish. It looks almost like a switchblade. And as you grab it and pick it up, and it flicks open, you thought that perhaps this was some kind of plasma cutter, something that might be used with a small plasma beam to engrave metal or cut metal. It varies from an engineer's tool to an artisan's tool. But as you flick it open, it is actually a knife. But as you kind of hold that flick mechanism, you see the blade begin to glow red hot. This is some kind of strange, it is a plasma knife, but it's been modified, it's been changed to be some kind of ritual weapon or use. And you can feel that at first it's barely warm to the touch, like a hot cup of tea, but the longer you hold it, the hotter it gets until you can't touch it anymore because it would burn your skin, until it begins to burn white hot. Hot enough to cut through steel.
Ho 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 ho. Okay, so Illyria, after seeing this thing that she recognizes vaguely, she's gonna stand there with it for a second, and it's almost like the rest of the world is moving and she is frozen for like in time, because in her brain she now has what she needs to do what she wants to do. She's gonna make a plan and she's gonna do it. So as soon as she takes that moment to like connect all of the dots within her brain, she's going to immediately start rushing around, not saying a word to anybody. She would like to go and use that to cut off the alloy off the wall without compromising the structural integrity of this building. And then she would like to use it to help board up the places that are broken. However, leaving room for Ro to continue her little pew pew out the window. So
Okay, and that's what you do. You don't damage the structural integrity. These metal plates that line the walls are purely decorative rather than structural. There is solid walls behind them. They appear to have been bolted in. And as you pull them off now, you can see they're decorated with these very pretty patterns and what looks like lettering. Perhaps they held some kind of religious significance. Perhaps they were just for decoration as, you know, like an alternative to a mosaic or something. But you do manage, it takes a little bit, and a couple of people help you by kind of pulling on this metal sheet so that you can get in there with this fine blade and slowly begin to kind of laser away almost with this plasma blade the metal that melts, and going up to the walls, which again are lined all across those walls around the door frames with this metal. You manage to heat it and almost weld it in place. It's not a strong weld, it's not gonna hold up against everything, but it is enough that you can kind of place it, leaving gaps in there for Ro to be able to shoot out of, but to cover most of those areas. And you begin to board it up. And you see as well, as you're boarding this, as these creatures are tearing buildings apart or trying to, these angelic beings like the one that you saw before appearing, and there is fighting, like the same way that Siltek thought. It is almost biblical. And you watch as when these demons are defeated, just like the ones that you encountered, they just disappear entirely. So you are successful there, Illyria. That was your boon. The wonderful architect had gifted you in chat. What is Ro doing? So some of these areas have been boarded up.
I think while Illyria is doing that, Ro's just kind of looking over her shoulder and going, like, "Oh, good, she's doing engineer stuff. That's good." Like, I have no idea what she's doing, but I'm gonna let her do her job. And Rose just kind of looking at all the different people that are in there, using her war training to try to calm people down, looking for anybody that might have a phaser or something similar that could potentially help hold the position, and just quickly teaching people, like, here's your lane of fire. I'm going to be over here. If they get to this point, pointing out like how close before you shoot, things like that.
No one here has any weapons. The only weapons that anyone might carry are ceremonial, which means that unless you are like the Andorians or the Klingons, who carry actual like martial weapons that can be used as weapons, the handful of people in here, you maybe have one person that has a martial dagger. The rest are all ceremonial weapons that are blunted or don't even have an edge to begin with. So people just begin to pick up whatever is in this room. Chunks of metal. You see a couple of people that were from the broken windows have wrapped glass in cloth that they've kind of fashioned that they can hold flat in their hands as a blade. That's all they have. You know that this planet didn't really allow weapons outside of the handful of kind of official buildings for security reasons.
Okay, in that case, Gotcha. In that case, she'll a slightly different strategy then. She'll probably help those with just pieces of metal or blunted ceremonial weapon type things. Maybe use the phaser to give it a sharper edge. Obviously, it'd be very rough, but just to sort of make it more jagged or sharp, and then set people up in sort of almost like a phalanx type strategy of like, okay, if they get past me and they get in, this group is going to attack first, and then if they get past them, it's this group, and kind of giving everybody a job, even if it's ultimately a pointless job, just to keep everybody calm.
Okay, and that is what you do. Some people are all for it, others are too afraid. You see, there are some people who are kind of huddled together at the back, some perhaps too old or too inexperienced to even think of holding a weapon, others too young, some just far too overwhelmed to even take in anything that you're saying. But a handful of the people within this room do take up some kind of arms. And that's when you begin to hear against the metal sheets that you put up, Illyria, the banging, as they begin to slowly dent, as several of these creatures begin to throw themselves at the building. We're going to head over to you, Malco, as you've landed a hit on this creature, and it's now focused its attention on you. You can feel the wind pulling you now. There's a broken window in this chapel somewhere because you can feel it pushing you out as it pulls you in at the same time. What are you going to do? As you kind of backed in a little bit to avoid it, as this creature is now trying to push towards you through this doorway.
I think at this point, still knowing that this creature is still the immediate threat, he's probably gonna shoot again to get rid of it.
Okay, you are in melee range with it right now. So if you want, are you going to retreat back into the chapel, or do you want to kind of stay in this doorway to try and block it coming in? But you're going to be at a bit of a penalty when it comes to shooting because you are like right up against it.
I would say he'll move back, but he's going to try and keep in mind how far back the people are within the chapel, and try to not keep letting it come into the chapel. But he'll move back to get a better shot against it.
Cool. Okay, so you take a few paces back. Go ahead and make that shot. It's going to be difficulty 2, because you're now kind of more inside. You don't, although there's still low visibility, you know where it is now. And this is a much more closed off area. So go ahead and make that test. It's going to be control plus security. You have got 4 points of momentum. Did you want to spend any for extra dice?
I will take 1 point for 1 more dice.
Sure. Okay, so you're rolling 3d20 then?
I believe target was 11, so that's just 1 success.
1 success. You fire off the shot again, but this creature is just pushing forward. And as you could try and fire off that shot, that concentrated beam, were you aiming for this shot, or were you just like running backwards, or?
I would say he's moving backwards at the same time, trying to get the space,
okay.
but also getting a little too quick on the draw.
You take that, like, you go for a really concentrated shot, and this creature, it's not by any skill, but just the way that it lumbers forwards as it brings itself down onto 4 arms rather than its 2 legs. It's just kind of, as it lumbers forward to try and get that rear up, the shot goes over the shoulder instead of hitting the chest. And you just miss. I need everybody right now, as you are in your respective places, as you are surrounded by these demonic creatures, these angelic beings fighting against them in the streets, I would like everyone to make me a control plus command test with a difficulty of 2. Is there anybody here who is telepathic? Or who has a telepathic nature to to any degree, or an empath nature. Okay. So that's control plus command. Difficulty 2, please.
Nice.
Would any of my, I guess inspiration probably be about the only focus that would apply? Would that apply?
Inspiration won't here. If you've got anything along the lines of concentration, meditation, anything that would be to do with like mental fortitude or emotional fortitude, that will apply here.
Regimented mind.
Yep.
I assume that would count. Then I got 3 successes.
Okay, so
I've
you've got
got
3
a
successes.
talent of diffuse the tension.
That won't apply here, unfortunately.
All right. In that case, it's what was it? It was control.
It is control plus command.
All right. So my target is 13. Come on. That's 2 successes.
2 successes. Okay.
My target was also 13. I only got 1, so.
You only got, so you failed, Illyria. Malco?
My target was 13, so I got 2 successes.
2 successes. So everyone except Illyria passed that, right? Okay. Illyria, at this moment, in fact, all of you realize at this moment, the screaming of the wind and the screaming of the creatures in the streets reaches a crescendo as the light, not the deep orange light, but the bright fiery orange from these angelic beings seems to just grow outside. And this crescendo builds and the winds pick up. Siltek, Ro, and Malco, all of you hear, not from the streets, but echoing over the top of those sounds, deep in the back of your mind, a horrible scream. One that you can only feel, and you really can feel, conveys despair, frustration. The feeling that you get, perhaps, Ro, that you have encountered on the battlefield when you watch one of your friends fall. That scream that comes from the bottom of your chest and just rips your lungs apart. The frustration of being stuck in that spot and not being able to do anything. You felt it, you've seen it. That's what you feel from this outside influence in the back of your mind. Siltek, for you, perhaps this feels more like when you learned of some of the details from your mother of what happened. That resentment, that despair of not understanding, that frustration of not being told more, the one that starts that horrible pit of darkness within a person unless they get a hold of it. That's what you feel. Not the anger of the frustration, but the emptiness of the despair and frustration.
Okay.
Malco, you have certainly felt something like this. Perhaps when treating a patient, perhaps in an operating theatre, perhaps as a field medic. But knowing that no matter what you do, it's not enough. You just can't make it work. You were just a second too late to get here. Or you realized the answer a few moments after the solution was needed. That horrible frustration that just eats you up. That's the kind of feeling you get from this. Illyria, you watch as so many other people around you have this look like they have just heard death itself. But you don't understand what it is they're hearing or feeling or why their faces are so contorted. You know that the screaming in the wind has built to this horrible crescendo that's almost deafening. But it looks like they are experiencing something else. There are a handful of other people in the room who look equally as confused. But you don't understand what everyone else along with these other people, are confused what everyone else in the room is reacting to. And then suddenly, that crescendo that has built just before it sounds like the entire buildings that you are within might cave, it's gone. There is no wind. The dust settles, the screaming gone. The orange haze and the fiery light vanishes to give way to what can only be described, you know, that horrible haze that you get after there's been like a fog is lifting or there's been a fire recently? That kind of, it's not quite smoky, but everything's got that haze to it. And for just a moment, there is silence in the streets. No more crashing at the walls. That horrible scream of despair that some of you heard is gone from your minds. You hear a voice, soft, in the back of your mind, all of you, including you, Illyria. I am the creator. It's that horrible kind of flat tone, similar to what you got from the angel when you met it. I demand answers. You are all impure. You are all disobedient. I demand that you climb the mountain and speak with me to answer for it.
Oh, shit.
Or all will pay. And it's threatening, but it's that horrible, calm kind of threatening. And the voice leaves. Illyria, something pings on your tricorder, which is slightly dented and bust up from the events. You're getting an information stream coming from Siltec. Somewhere within the area, his tricorder signal has latched onto yours and is beginning to feed you information, and you see what he saw. It's energy readings from the angels and the demons. And you see the same thing. They are made of the same type of energy, and it is definitely energy. Energy that has manifested as matter. And you also see this kind of strange, like, background radiation. It comes up almost like white noise. The same energy, but it just seems to flood the area that Siltec was measuring, just in the background. And you too would know that being this close to the surface, it's impossible to tell without more scans if this is localized and was caused by the appearance of these creatures, or whether this is something that affects a larger area. And just as you're getting that through, Ro, your comm badge goes off. Chief Petty Officer? You recognize the voice. It is a panicked transporter operator. Crewman Callahan, I believe we named him.
Callahan, thank you. I was like, oh crap, what was his name? So Rose, like, obviously very tense and concentrated on holding the phaser at this projection, I guess. And she hears it, and it just sort of snaps her out of it, and she kind of jerks for a second, taps the communicator, and goes, "What, Callahan?"
I haven't told the captain that I'm messaging, but you cut off before, and I just wanted to check that you and the rest of the crew were okay.
I'm here with Commander Farron. We're both fine. I'm not sure about the rest. We haven't been able to check on them yet.
I'm glad you're safe, Chief Petty Officer. And then, as he goes to launch into something else, the badge goes again. And this time it is the captain.
Okay.
You all receive this message. Please report in. I need statuses on everybody. What happened down there?
Ro will respond and kind of give her an update. say we're holed up in a building. We've managed to get a bunch of the citizens to shelter, but those weird demon creature things came out and were attacking people. I know Siltech was working with some Klingons. I'm not sure where everybody else is, except for Commander Farron, who's with me. This entity, whatever it is, seems to want people to answer for something. But as with most religious figures, it was vague, except that we need to go up to the top of a mountain to talk to it.
I see, but Chief Petty Officer, you are safe as is. As is Farron.
For the moment, me and Farron seem safe. I think the worst of it's over. For now.
Commander Odie, Null, Sozin, report in, please.
I heard something about the mountain. They're going to a mountain. I'd find the largest mountain nearby and start scanning that with everything you got. Because whatever's going on, it's going to be headed that way.
Oh, I have information on that too, but I'd like to make sure that all of the crew are together, or at least alive. But it is good to hear from you, Siltech.
Thank you, ma'am. I am
We're
talking to
missing
the
one.
captain, right? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, good. We are missing one, ma'am. I'll look for him right away, and that'll be my job until I'll start making sure the crew is okay. I'm security. I should try and get everyone together.
Okay. And she's waiting for you to report in, Malco.
He'll report and say, Captain, I'm currently safe. I'm with a group of the citizens here on the planet. Currently planning to assess and make sure that the rest of the team are fine and formulate a plan to deal with this entity. Captain, it sounds powerful. It clearly has some sort of ability or means of which to destroy and decimate.
I would agree with you. I assume then that Commander Odie is the crew member we are currently missing. Nobody has a clue on his whereabouts?
I don't believe so, Captain.
No, ma'am.
We will keep looking for him. We should be able to lock on a comm signal at some point. The scanners are beginning to clear now that storm has disappeared. However, Siltech, I believe that you are correct about this mountain. There is quite a journey from where you are. At first, we thought that perhaps it was an active volcano that we had missed on our scan. But it appears when we compared them, the energy signals it's giving out began when the storm stopped. Were not present beforehand on the planet. It is releasing a slow wave of energy. If something is not done about it, it could destroy anything within its path, like a tidal wave. Perhaps this is the mountain that this entity was referring to, you say?
That would line up, ma'am.
There may be others then.
Does my Klingon friend have a name? Did we establish a name for him?
Does he have a name? He does not have a name, so you are free to name him. What did he introduce himself to you as, Siltech?
Look it up. Klingon names real quick. Anyone got an idea what a Klingon name would be? It's like harsh, right? It's like warfare, like Karlek. His name is Karlek.
Karlek. Okay.
Yes.
Karlek, son of Kaldor. That's what we're going
Nice.
with.
Nice.
He is battered and bruised and bleeding. He's literally using his batleth to kind of not prop himself up in like a I'm weak and injured way, but in a I am tired from fighting way, but he's still trying to stand proud and hold this batleth. There are going to be others who perhaps have heard what you have heard, if it is demanding people go to the mountain. Speak with anybody
gotta get
perhaps
there first.
local. See if this mountain has got any significance here. And if you can, be the first ones to reach it.
Yeah.
Who knows what will happen if the wrong people climb it first. The destruction they could be walking into.
You got any vehicles around here, Karlek? Anything nearby?
And the captain kind of essentially signs off at this point. She wishes you well and says she's going to be focusing to try and find Tristan.
Thank you, ma'am.
But he turns to you and says, "You are not Klingon, but you fight with strength and honor."
I'm not a lot of things, my friend. And we got to get to that mountain first. You know how to?
And he kind of, "You are Federation. There are many things that you are not. But you, Cardassian, are strong." And you can see there's a bit of contempt behind it. You don't know
Yeah.
if it's the Federation or the Cardassian bit. But he's clearly recognized the strength in you.
As I'm trying to shoulder his giant ass up on me, I'm like, oh, wish I was stronger. Let's get you to a vehicle.
You try doing this, and he kind of shrugs you off. And I've already forgotten what we've named him.
Karlak.
Karlak,
Looking for a
son of
car,
Kal-
Karlak.
Yeah, he literally says to you, "Karlak, son of Kaldor, does not need aid." As he kind of like
Yes, sir.
pulls his arm free and walks limping in the direction you're going.
I'm just going to like,
And if you're asking,
Casually
you ask
scan.
about,
as we're
Casually
walking to make
scan.
sure he's not going to die on me, you know what I mean?
he seems okay. Like he's
Okay,
If he was human, he'd probably be lying half dead by now. But
right. His
You-
second
he
heart is
doesn't
still
seem
beating, right?
bothered. Yeah, he doesn't seem bothered by this at all.
Wow.
And you wanted to know, you were asking him about the volcano, right? The
Yeah.
volcano, the mountain.
Or, yeah,
okay.
and a vehicle to get us there as fast as possible. Yeah. Like a Cadillac.
Sorry.
That was from
He
the chat.
basically-
That wasn't me.
He basically
That was
explains.
me.
Sorry.
He basically explains that the mountain is one of the most sacred places here. It is one of the pilgrimage that the very devoted take, and there's normally a preparation leading up to that pilgrimage. He has never been up there himself. He does not yet consider himself worthy.
Y'all better get worthy.
But he directs that there is a Federation woman here who may know more that he has encountered. You get the feeling, Siltek, from his description of her, that he's talking about Chahal, Commander Chahal.
Which is my mom, right? Or no, that's my mom's friend. Is my mom or my mom's friend? I'm sorry.
This was the woman that you knew back from your academy days when she was a commander then. And she
Right.
moved over to here for the more sensitive diplomatic side of things, but she kind of helped you in Starfleet, kind of push you through.
Okay.
She was like that second mum we discovered in the episode.
She
when
was
you
my
met up
real
with
mom. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
All right.
For the
Right.
for the sake of timing and ease, we will say that you all congregate back somewhere within the square. You manage to find each other, and I just want to give you the opportunity now to kind of roleplay whatever you want to here before you move on to going forward with the mountain plan or speaking to Chahal. But obviously, you've all just had quite an experience. You've all been split up. So what happens as you all come together again? As people now start to come out into the streets, there are people who are seeing the defeat of these creatures by these angelic beings as some kind of miracle. There is a lot of praise happening. There's worship. People begin to sing. After such devastation, people seem to pick up very quickly. And you too can feel that odd sense of kind of calm the planet gave you when you first arrived. It's not as strong. There is that sense of worry behind it, but people are trying to celebrate what they can as they see their god triumphing over evil, their beliefs bringing about the destruction of these terrible creatures, whatever their culture may believe. But you are now all meeting back up for the first time.
Y'all okay?
Doing okay. Is everyone else okay? Can I do anything?
Kardak could use some medical attention. He'll tell you he doesn't need it, but he does.
I
introduce him.
will. Okay, and I'll look him over, seeing how beat up and bruised he is, and do you want my help? Just kind of leave it to him.
Don't let your pride get in the way, Kardak. We need you healthy. We'll never survive without you. Try and beef up his ego so he'll take the help,
And then he probably just looks like I'm getting glared at, probably. Just like, don't you dare. So after that, I'll look to the rest of the group and just and are we get wait, where's okay. Who last saw Tristan? Commander Odie.
I lost him in the storm. I haven't seen
Galera.
him since.
Sorry. The Galera is on her. Wow, why did I just forget what it was called? She's looking at the data that Stiltech sent her, but when you say Tristan's name, she'll look up and she'll be like, that was me. And she looks right back down at the tricorder and continues to go through the information because she doesn't know what happened and that makes her uncomfortable. So she's going to stick with what she knows.
Okay. Where did you last see him? You can tell he's trying not to freak out even more because someone on his team is gone. And him being essentially the leader of the group, he's very much there's this bubbling nervousness and anxiousness that's slowly eking its way out into trying to talk to the group.
I lost him in the storm, but Commander Odie's brave. Don't worry about him. He'll be okay. What we got to worry about is getting to that mountain before these poor people sacrifice themselves to some false god. I'll tell you what, I was raised near a church in Montana, old Orthodox church, hadn't been open in years, until this creature. I hadn't heard of them before. They were the names. I'm losing it for a sec. What's the aliens who love money? What are their names again? The big-eared aliens. Ferengi, right? This Ferengi showed up one day, opened up the church, started building it back up. People started showing up what's this Ferengi doing in a church, right? Is this church just going to collect money? Is this church now going to be this whole scam that's going to take the whole town? So they all showed up. We all sat down with all of us not believing that this person was here really to guide our faith. And then the church rumbled and the doors swung shut, and we swear an earthquake had hit the center of Montana, and we all were afraid and we all were ready to believe. And he sat back with his arms wide, and the wall vanished behind him, and the hologram that was protecting this tractor beam that he had installed in the floor was shown to all of us. And he taught us a lesson that day about false gods and false religion and the fear that can lead you to believe things that you want to believe to feel safe. He had rejected the beliefs of his people. He had rejected money. He had rejected greed. And he was here to teach us about those lies. And it was a tough lesson to learn. And I'm telling you, the bigger version of that's happening right now.
That is a very strange Ferengi, but
It was a
I know what
strange
you're
man.
talking about.
So, and at this point, Alira looks up and is making eye contact with Stiltech and goes, so if it's not religion, we gotta find the science. And she goes back to her tricorder, is there any way for me to analyze this information to see if I can figure out if it's just emerging or if it's actually like from somewhere? Like almost like how we transported down and we were like not there and then we were there kind of vibe.
Yeah, so you, at this point, you've got the ship's information as well that they've managed to do. So, Illyria, you're very good at reading energy signals. You're used to it. You know, you work on warp engines. You work with things that involve energy signals every single day. And judging by the ship scans that you have recently been sent and all of the data that you've collected so far, the energy itself, while you have this spike over at this mountain that you've kind of been pointed to by the creator, the energy signature matches that of the angels and the demons, and that energy signature matches that background energy you're picking up. Except it's not just background energy that perhaps some of you may have assumed was lingering because of the presence of the creatures in the area. That background energy, which you can now scan for, the ship can tune into, covers the entire planet itself. And you remember when you first scanned these things, and it was a type of energy you hadn't seen before, which is why the ship never picked it up in its initial scan when you first arrived on the planet as protocol. But having detected it now with your tricorders, you can pick it up. Something has caused it to spike enough to show planetary readings of it. But it all seems to center on that mountain.
Alira will.
Insensitive or anything, this is Ro speaking, but maybe just as a backup plan, Commander Farron, would there be anything horrible that would happen if, say, we took out whatever's on top of that mountain with the ship's phasers?
Would there anything horrible happen if we took out these other faces?
Oh, now I am going to make you roll.
Okay.
You can use, this is going to be insight rather than reason, because you're not familiar with this kind of energy. While you can understand roughly kind of how it works based on your other knowledge of other types of energy particle, this is not something you have a background knowledge of. So it's going to be insight plus engineering.
Okay.
It's going to be difficulty. This is going to be difficulty 0. So you will be able to know something, but depending on how many successes you get, I'll give you more information. And obviously, each success is going to be a point of momentum for you. So you can also spend that momentum to ask me questions about it too, if you wish.
Is this anything I could assist on?
Oh.
Not particularly here. So that's 2 successes.
Yes.
Okay, so you have a full pool of momentum. You've got 6 momentum in the pool now. You have a look at this. You think about what you know in regards to how types of energy might react to each other, how sometimes they cancel each other out. You can use some types of energy to amplify others, to cause particular effects. Some of these effects are used to power parts of the starship or machinery, or used in conjunction with each other. But you imagine firing phasers at this mountain would produce one of 3 results. Absolutely nothing would happen at all, because it's possible that phaser energy and whatever type of energy this is giving off don't interact. So aside from basically blowing up a mountain, it may have no effect on the energy that you're seeing across the planet itself. You can't be sure if this mountain itself is a source, or if it is just a spike point for that energy, a release point to where it is more prominent.
Right.
The second option is that the 2 do interact, and they interact violently. And if so, it could set off a chain reaction. You know that this energy is capable of forming somehow into physical matter that is there, that is solid. As you know, because you've encountered the demons, and they are physical. They are not holograms. They are not, you can't just put your hand through them. Which means, if that's the case, firing the phasers could either trigger that particular energy to become matter. And depending on how that energy releases itself from the planet, could either cause it all to turn solid, which would effectively bury everything alive, or it could set off a chain reaction that destroys it, which effectively sets everything on fire. The third outcome is that, yes, this is a transmitter point. Taking it out causes this effect to dissipate, but you have no actual proof on this data that this is a point of transmission, or this is a point of source, rather than just a point where this is either converged or it is spilling from. Because the effect is global. Apart from this mountain, everywhere else, it's fairly even.
Shooting a volcano is not going to stop a volcano.
It's not like it's coming from this mountain outwards. It is almost like a volcano. The whole planet itself is kind of, if you were to look at it on like an image, is glowing with this energy. It's just this mountain is the spike. It is where it is strongest. It's coming upwards and out very, very slowly and spreading. And it's at safe levels now, but allowing it to continue to spread eventually floods everything with it in levels extremely high. And what that might cause, you don't know.
Okay.
But you would hazard the
Alira?
first two are more likely. Nothing happens or bad things happen.
That is great. So I assume, having dealt with energy a lot, can I correlate the diffusion of some of this energy with like diffusing energy in like a ship engine? Like, is there a correlation between the two that I can use information from that to help solve issues here?
Would you like to spend a point of momentum, and I can tell you that?
I would love to, if that's okay with everybody else.
Yeah, we got 6. Spend them.
Cool. You try to correlate it, and you would expect, even in a perfect system, you know realistically they don't exist, and that you'll always have some energy loss. Wherever that is, you always lose a little bit somewhere.
Yeah.
Like distilling whiskey. There's always a bit that just, for whatever reason, shouldn't disappear, but does somewhere. This doesn't do that. Although the energy levels fluctuate, they fluctuate evenly. So energy spiking at this particular point doesn't seem to affect the energy dips in the way you'd expect, which is energy closest to that point in other areas around it would begin to dip first, or points furthest from it would begin to dip first as it's drawn from a source. That's not happening.
Are you sharing this info with us?
Yes. Illyria is very outward thinker, so she's probably verbalizing all of this, and some of it's probably jumbled, but you're getting everything that's going through her brain as it is.
Commander Farron, I'm not an expert like you are, but a stable energy field like that sure sounds similar to a warp field. You're getting spikes in a warp field, the whole thing collapses.
I don't know how. This is Jordan, sorry, not Alira. I don't know how to use this information that you just gave me, but I do have a focus in warp core technology.
I'm happy to tell you. Basically, what you would expect if you have, for example, like a power source, like a warp core, and you were drawing power from that warp core to elsewhere, venting it somewhere, you'd expect that in that closed loop system, as soon as you basically have a release valve, it's going to draw power from somewhere. So you're going to lose power, for example, in one area of your ship, and depending on how that energy is transferred, you might lose it in, the bridge first and engineering last. So you'd expect to see some kind of flow, like a workflow of where that power flows through. So here,
and we're not seeing that.
Yeah, if this mountain was like venting energy from a source, you'd expect that there would be a spot somewhere on the planet that it would be losing energy from first as it worked its way through that network, right? But you're not seeing that.
So
you're seeing
we're not
this
losing it, it's
venting.
creating.
You're venting power but the fluctuation is global. So if it drops by 5% in one place, it drops by 5% everywhere and then comes back. It's not like eventually if you vent a warp core, if you vent the plasma from a warp core, eventually you run out of plasma to vent and the warp core dies. This
Right.
isn't happening.
If you can find a way to disrupt that,
Bro will throw out another suggestion, given the new information. So I should probably start with, right, so blowing up the mountain, we'll call that Plan Z, last plan. So,
blow up, all die. Number 10.
yeah, what if, all right, well, if it's not working like that, then what if we just got rid of the energy? So, I don't know, reconfigure the ship's shields or something like that. Some sort of power transfer. We use it as like a lightning rod. We siphon all the weird energy out into space.
How much energy can the ship take?
Illyria,
Commander?
you know the answer to this. Not that much. A lot, but not this much.
Then we got to time it. We got to get to that mountain. There's someone directing this. Someone got into our heads. Someone's demanding worship. Someone's demanded to be treated like a god and using false technology to fool us. We need to get to that mountain and confront that being. And Commander Farron, you need to figure out a way to disrupt his magic as we do, to show everyone here that this is all a scam.
I'm not one for talking things out. Lyra kind of steps back, but she goes, but being honest, if we don't have the capability to funnel the energy off the planet, it might be smart to convince whoever's in charge of this that funneling the energy off the planet is the best case scenario for them.
All right, then we got to get there. And he's already looking for horses. See that?
Well, you were told that Chahal could give you information on the mountain.
Right.
You were told that it was considered one of the holiest sites on the planet.
We got to go talk to my mom.
That's right.
Not my mom, but my other mom. We got to go talk to my adopted mom. She's not really adopted me. Don't worry. We got to talk to a woman that I think of as my mom. She's got answers.
You've all met Commander
get it.
Chahal. You
We
met
get it,
her at the very
Oh, right.
beginning.
Right. You all know her. I'm just talking. I'm nervous. Pardon me. We got to go talk to her.
So we will skip ahead then to you going back to the Federation Council offices here and meeting with Chahal, and you can see that even within here they have taken in survivors. There are some people who are injured, who are being treated here, and you spot Chahal across the room as she is herself checking on people. It looks like she's handing out like food packets, like packets of replicated food to people who are in here, and you see that this is mostly anyone injured, anyone very young, people who look like they're perhaps waiting for their family, who perhaps got separated in this. There are lots of people back out on the streets now celebrating this miracle, you know, of their various gods and deities and figureheads and stuff. And she
No sign of our missing commander anywhere, I take it?
you don't see. You can probably look while you're on the way here. You have no sign of Tristan, and if you check in with
Sure.
the ship, they don't know where he is either.
All right.
They
Well, one
cannot
thing
get
at
a
time.
lock on his comm badge.
All right.
But
Can they
Chahal
get a lock on
spots you.
ours? I'm so sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you, but can they get a lock on ours?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
She spots you. Chahal spots you, and she comes walking over, and like a mother, you finally see the kind of softer side to her. You didn't see it back in the office at the beginning, as everything was very prim and proper. You know, you spotted her putting her pen back in its place and everything. Those nice straight lines, clean cut. And she walks over. She doesn't hug you or embrace you, but she kind of puts her hand on your shoulder in that very formalized way, but it's a touch of comfort that perhaps no one else here has seen from her. Perhaps you've experienced it a few times, Siltek. And she looks at you and
Yep.
says, I'm glad you are okay. The rest of your
I'm
crew,
glad-
I see. Where is the other one? And she kind of
We do
looks
not
among
know.
you as you funnel in.
He's missing. We'd appreciate it if you'd ask everyone if they'd seen him. We got bigger problems right now, ma'am.
I will put word out to the rest of my crew. Perhaps he is among one of the people that took shelter when the storm hit. He did disappear so oddly. I suppose you are here about the mountain.
Yes, ma'am.
Everybody here heard the call. I have put a hold on anybody making their way up there. That doesn't mean that people won't, but hopefully it should keep people away for enough time to figure out what is going on. If you are here, I am assuming you have intentions of making your way up there yourselves. And she looks
Hopefully
among you,
before anyone
and
else.
you know, that laser sharp focus that she has that you saw displayed the first time some of you met her, and Siltek you know her for, she's already like 3 steps ahead. She's already anticipated why you might be here, because she heard that voice inside her head too, the same as everyone else.
So she got the vehicle lined up and 3 plasma rifles for us.
Walk with me.
Vehicle would be great.
I will happily walk with her. I'm just,
Rose chomping at the bit to drive something.
can you imagine like being this afraid, being this worried about everyone, and then basically your mom shows up? I mean, that's just got to be the best feeling. Siltek just follows right in behind.
Just gonna say, I think I take the win for the best mum NPCs.
Yes.
She says, walk with me. She kind of gestures to follow. She hands out the last few food packets and she makes her way to her office. And you can see here that window that she had, it's shattered and broken. She sits at her desk, which she looks over, and it's a mess. There's nothing left on it apart from papers and broken pens. And she kind of sits at it. And she's still very prim and proper. And you watch as she's thinking as she adjusts the things that are still intact back into their proper place. I can provide you vehicles, as she looks at you, Ro, to get to the base of the mountain. However, the mountain itself has deep religious significance to every culture here on Ashgrave. It has often, but not always, been known to be a place where messages from the divine are offered. There are some that I know very well here, that have received insights in the forms of dreams and messages while on that pilgrimage. While I do not partake in many of the beliefs here, I do believe that the people that I know of are rational and are of sound mind. And so I believe that whatever they saw, they did see, and whatever they heard, they did hear. There are certain ritual steps that are universally followed when making pilgrimage up that mountain. You must make the trek up it barefoot, ideally. However, on foot normally suffices for most. They say you should only wear clothes made of natural fibers. Many of the cultures here forbid taking any form of technology up on the pilgrimage as a sign of respect, a sign of true belief that you don't need anything to prove. What you're seeing is what you're seeing. A test of faith, if you will. Many expect that anyone taking the pilgrimage should bathe at its base before sunrise. There is a small shelter there, as there is one towards the mountain peak. Before making the trip, most cultures, not all, but most believe that you should either settle a debt or share a secret with somebody to cleanse your soul, to free yourself from anything that may hold you back from seeing the divine truth that you may incite up there. The trek up the mountain itself takes only about 4 hours. The route is well established. The drive out there, another 2. Starfleet does not have jurisdiction on this planet, and I have forbidden anyone from making that pilgrimage. I would advise that for diplomatic reasons, perhaps you should follow some, if not all, of those guidelines. So that should this be resolved in a way that is hopefully not what we just saw, there'll be no mistrust or disrespect placed on the part of Starfleet taking that pilgrimage. It's up to you, however. But please remember, this is a diplomatic incident as much as it is a crisis.
Didi, ixnay on those phasers. Ixnay on the phasers. Didi.
Rose just
I have people to help.
seems very. Oh, sorry, the audio just glitched on me. I might have missed something.
Oh. She looks up, she kind of stands up from the desk. There are people that I need to help. There are vehicles out in the compound through the doors there, and she kind of indicates out of her office and the opposite direction to where you guys came in.
Sure. Siltek's like
You can
hopping
take your
behind.
lead.
He's already got one boot off. He's taking the other one off. He's stripped his shirt off. He's getting ready to get into like a cloth robe or whatever. Like whatever he needs to do, he's moving. You know.
Okay. So unless there's anything you wish to ask Commander Chahal, I want to go through and see which of these ritual steps you decide to include. Is there anything anyone wishes to say or ask?
Yeah, Ro looks really uncomfortable as Chahal's explaining all this, and then once it's clear that they've done, they're done. They finished their whole thing. It's like, well, so granted, I'm not the most diplomatic of people. I usually leave all of that up to diplomats. But
As is
in
wise.
the interest, yes, in the interest though of everyone not dying, could it be possible that maybe we set all those rituals, those very time-consuming rituals aside, in the interest of saving everyone's lives? Otherwise, I'm perfectly willing to let one of them go up there and handle it if they feel like they can.
You are free to ignore those if you wish. However, there are some here that say, unless some, if not all, of those rituals are followed, the divine does not speak to you. This entity, this voice, was very clear that it felt people were disobedient.
You probably just hear like Ro muttering under her breath, Prophet Snickers, it's like I'm back on Bajor. This is awful.
You are not
You see
the
Illyria?
believing type. She kind of notes the mutter under your breath, and she taps you on the shoulder as she makes her way out, unless Illyria has anything to say to her.
Oh no, she's not saying anything. You just see her standing in the back, really wide-eyed, slightly frustrating, clutching her tricorder to her chest. You wanted me to go on this mountain without technology. I don't want to be a part of your religion anymore. Like, that's what's going on in her head. Sorry.
Chahal spots this as you're clutching this as she walks out. She looks at you and says, "Fear not, Commander. Many have made that journey. All have returned. And I believe that your ship is still in orbit. Providing there is a transporter lock on you, I would assume that there is not much that can harm you there, except for your own folly." She kind of gives you a very motherly, reassuring smile, and then leaves as somebody calls her name in the corridor. Her aide that you noticed before, the awkward kind of teenage, just slightly older than teenage boy that was at the front desk that you embarrassed when he was first here. She rushes off towards him. So what I want to know, so
Yeah.
you're obviously, you are going to drive. I know, Ro, you would like to drive to the base of the mountain. Is there anybody here? I'm going to mark down who doesn't do the things. So
Siltek's
Who
going all
does-
out. I was raised by
Okay.
atheists, but I'm going all out because I've always had like my mom was so atheist that it made me curious because I rebelled against everything she taught me. So I was always curious about religion. I always believed there was something there that she was keeping from me or that she was just being obtuse about. I go straight to Karlak after I've like stripped off my uniform, put on like a robe or whatever, walking over barefoot with my big old Cardassian talons, clicking on the floor. And I turn to him and I'm like, "You seem to believe. I need some belief. And I need to confess to you something I keep inside for that belief to have meaning. Do you understand, my friend?
And he looks at you knowingly. We will come back to that in a second. I want to
Sure.
go through these because I need to mark this
Oh,
down.
of course. I'm sorry.
So, is there anybody here who, once you get to the base of the mountain, will not make the trek on foot? It is a 4-hour climb. So everybody here will make the trek on foot.
Yeah.
Is there anybody here that will make the trek barefooted as suggested? I'm
Already
just
there.
going to assume that Siltec will do all of the things.
Yes.
So
That is a fair
Malco, you will go
assumption.
barefoot.
Ro will as well.
Oh.
Under protest, but she will.
Illyria. will
Alira
you-
hates this, but I will. Everybody, peer pressure.
Okay. Is there anybody here who will not change out of their uniforms into clothes made of natural fibers that are provided for you?
If they're provided for her, Ro
You
will
do not
do
have
it,
to
yeah.
wear them. Ro will do it. Okay.
This is like
She was gonna say no, but
It
if
is
it's like something
totally-
handing her clothes,
This is totally.
Rose is
your
like, if somebody's
choice.
handed me clothes, sure, I'll wear it. She just wasn't gonna go out of her way.
I'll wear it. Alira's
You
not
sure?
happy about this, but she will.
Okay. And
She's gonna
Malco,
take
Do you keep your
Ro
uniform?
will keep
or
her
do you change?
communicator though.
Malco would change.
Malco will change. Okay, we'll get to the communicators. Is there anyone here who will take technology up with them?
Me.
Illyria will?
I just can't not. I will leave. It is a fundamental part of my core. I will leave everything that I can leave, but if I feel like I need it, I absolutely have to. But I will be crazy discreet about it. And I'll only pull it out if necessary. But I mean, okay, if everybody looks at me and goes, Illyria, stop it, then I'll leave it.
Illyria-
But like, I cannot.
Illyria's the worst at being discreet about anything. I think we've all agreed on that by now. So Siltec sees all this, and sees her wrestling out of the corner of his eye, and just very quietly passes her his phaser, just quietly, so no one else sees. Just hands it over.
Okay, so
Everyone make
Siltec,
up their own mind.
crammed under her shirt.
Siltec, you are not taking tech, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Ro,
In fact,
you
I even
are
take
taking
off my
tech.
communicator, which means that I can't get a transport lock on me anymore. I take off everything.
Ro, you're keeping your communicator on, so you are taking tech. Malco,
Yeah.
are you taking any tech?
Ooh, no.
No. Okay. So just Ro and Illyria that are taking tech. I'm going to assume that when you get to the base of the mountain, you will all bathe at the small shelter there before making your way up.
Yep.
Cool. Okay, that's fine. And I want to know who among you is going to settle a debt or share a secret beforehand. You do not have to. Siltec will.
Hell yeah.
Illyria will. Malco won't.
No.
Malco will. Malco won't. Ro.
Ro will share a secret.
Okay, so very quickly then, let's
Sorry, player actually and character question. The whole taking technology, is it any technology is like the same? So if Ro took a communicator and a phaser, there'd be equal level of offense, or
You would imagine-
is it cumulative?
yes and no. You imagine, like, it depends on which way you're looking at it. You might decide that one culture might see like a tricorder or a scanner, somebody who disbelieves that what they're seeing is the divine. Somebody who takes a weapon might be viewed as somebody who is hostile to the divine. For some cultures, it may be one or the other that bothers more. This
Okay.
whole planet is like a knife's edge of customs and trying to, it's why the Federation try not to step in here and everything's done by collective. So let's head over then. Siltec, you go to this Klingon, and he is sat taking ritual in whatever the equivalent of a Klingon chapel is. I'm sure there's a word for it, and there's a Klingon fan in chat who's going to probably shout out and tell me what it is. But he nods when you go to him and you explain that, you know, you need to share a secret in order to cleanse this. And he just sits patiently watching. There is this weird Klingon singing happening from somewhere else within this building. And he is sat in
kind of deep, low, reverberating, a Klingon, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd join him in the best I can, following in the rituals he is, if he's kneeling, if he's praying, whatever he's doing. And I would quietly ask him for a blessing of faith. And then I would turn to him and say that we have to shed the things we are afraid of, the things we keep hidden from others. And he'd grow quiet for a sec, and then he'd turn and he said, my mother always used her love as a weapon. She used it as a cudgel. She made me fear. She made me loyal. She made me hurt, and it was all twisted up in this love she claimed to have for me that was not real. I have never been able to love another. I have never been able to open my heart beyond this falseness I show others. I will show you my heart, my friend. I will feel guided by you, and I trust you as a warrior and as a fellow person.
And he looks at you. Your mother does not have honor, but you displayed honor to Kales today. Kales will guide you and protect you, as I am sure your heart is as pure as mine. And he kind of gives you this grip that you would see warriors give each other, that reassurance. And he kind of shakes you sternly as if to impress this grip upon you, and then it is retracted. And he gets up and leaves.
All right. I stand, I take a deep breath, I focus, and I rejoin the others. It's time to get busy.
Ro, are you confessing a secret?
Yes.
Or are you settling a debt?
Confessing a secret.
Who do you confess the secret to?
Excuse me. She's going to look at just to the rest of the crew, so everybody that's there, and go, well, I guess we're supposed to share a secret or something like that, so may as well tell you why this place makes me so uncomfortable. On Bajor, we have these deities we call the prophets, and they have these orbs that it's supposed to be a super personal spiritual experience. Anyways, I never put much stock in it, but I did have one of these experiences, and this place was shown to me in it. So all the religious stuff really makes me uncomfortable to begin with. So the fact that these prophets that I don't really, I believe they exist, I just don't really believe in them. The fact that they showed me this place, and like I said, with most religious things, it's all vague and could apply to a number of things. So I don't know if it was a good sign or a bad sign, an omen or a whatever, but I know this place is important to my destiny, if you will, and that makes me really uncomfortable.
Okay.
So that's the secret.
And then finally, Illyria, are you settling a debt or are you sharing a secret?
You know, I may actually change my mind. Because Illyria's been sitting here listening to everybody, and her options are to share a secret that's really stupid, or to share a secret that is fundamentally core to the reason that she is who she is, but she as an individual, because of the experience itself, because it is a trauma. I don't think she realizes it's a secret. It's just kind of something she doesn't talk about. So she actually probably won't do either. She'll kind of fidget with her pockets. I think that she'll say that she's gonna do it, and then when it comes down to her actually doing it, she's gonna bail on it.
Okay. That's fine. That's fine. And obviously, Malco, you chose not to share a secret or settle a debt either. So, you walk to this compound. Gonna wait for Ro to get back because I would like Ro to make a driving test to see how long it takes you, because time will be important. But you are, as you get settled into this strange little buggy car thing in these clothes made of natural fibers. They are very, they're not like Hessian sacks. They are very nice fitted, loose flowing robes that consist of like a shirt, pant, like soft, loose pants, and this kind of almost over jacket that comes over the top like a sleeveless waistcoat that's long. And Ro, I would like you to make me a test to see how long it takes you to get to the base of this mountain. You were told it's a 2-hour drive, but obviously there is no navigation system to this. You are supposed to reach this through as little use of technology as possible, so there is nothing built into this vehicle for that purpose. So I would like you to make me control plus con, please.
Control plus con, all right. So I'm just double checking a talent I have. So I've got push the limits when you attempt a contest that has increased in difficulty due to environmental conditions or damage to the engines. Reduce the difficulty by 1 to a minimum of 1. Okay,
difficulty
I'm not sure if that
is
applies.
1 here anyway. Yeah, so you're not struggling with any conditions.
Okay. Because I was like, she's definitely gonna punch it and push the engine probably harder than it's supposed to go.
Easy difficulty. It's just to see if you have any complications on the way, or if you don't succeed and perhaps it takes you a bit longer. It's more of like a competency test than anything.
Gotcha. So it was control and con, right?
Yeah.
So that's a 14, and I do have a focus in small craft and helm operations.
Small craft will work.
Or just small craft? Okay.
You only ever have one focus apply at a time. So small craft will work here.
All right. So that is 3 successes.
It is. So you are back to a full momentum pool now. Yeah, you get there in easily within that 2 hours, if not a little bit under. And you begin the climb. You see the small kind of hut there. By the time that you've driven out, these events have taken place. You are coming kind of towards sunset almost. So just as that orange glow begins to disseminate across the kind of strange deserty landscape here, you make your way into this small shelter where there is a source of water. It is cold, but you all bathe and cleanse yourselves. And it looks like there is an area here for you to leave any belongings. So your shoes, for example. As all of you said, you would make the trek barefoot. It is 4 hours of walking. Many of you are probably not used to walking barefoot like this. It is not comfortable. The ground, while there is a clear route up this mountainside, so you do not have to struggle with climbing gear, there are some treacherous parts. But it's easy enough to follow. 4 hours of walking and your feet are sore, probably cut in places from the harsh rocky ground. You may have had to make several stops up here. But you eventually reach the top of this mountain. You find a barren view of the landscape. With the small colony, you can see there are still some plumes of smoke rising from some areas badly hit by that storm. But otherwise, the landscape is mostly barren. That colony is pretty much the only one here on the planet. that sense of despair and frustration that all of you except Illyria felt, all of you can now feel niggling away somewhere in the back of your mind, like a bad feeling you can't shake, even among the kind of strange joy that this planet infuses people with just by being here. You stand at the precipice of this mountain, looking over that kind of flat, rocky area that's not quite the literal peak, but makes up what is clearly, like there's a small shrine here. There is another small building that looks like it contains water and some other supplies that perhaps people would need after the trek up here. But you are alone. And suddenly, it begins to get darker. You're not quite into twilight yet. It shouldn't be this dark, but it becomes that way very quickly. Almost like the stars themselves are blinking out of existence in the sky above you or getting further away. The orange glow from the sunset, you don't notice it disappear, but suddenly it's gone. Those of you with tricorders, you begin to get beeping as your energy readings on there begin to build and build and build into levels that your tricorders can no longer measure. It's so high. You watch as out of the stony, cracked ground, lava, no, small beams of light begin to surface, bubbling up from underneath, and they begin to coalesce as they move and snake around you into a huge, shining ball of light. This spherical shape that both is there and isn't, as it almost fluctuates, and in some moments you can make out the darkness behind it, and in others it appears as solid as anything you've ever seen. Ro, as you see this light, just for a second, in its shape, in the way that it's not quite solid, you almost see things that remind you of the prophets, iconography, images that are barely there. I don't believe anyone else here is particularly religious or comes from a particularly religious background. Siltek, you see within this sphere of light shifting just for seconds at a time images that perhaps you recognize from Earth religion, Terran religions.
It's reading our minds. Boy, do we need Darby right now. All right.
There is a feeling of that strange divine nature that some of you perhaps felt from the angel originally. It's like that, but it's magnified here. There is a split second, regardless of your belief, that for a moment this ball of light makes you feel like this really could be the divine. And then you hear a voice in your mind. Who are you that you come to me?
Who are you that you ask?
I am God.
Siltek
I am the
openly
creator.
scoffs.
How do you plan to aid me?
How do you plan to explain why you're God, but you're focused on one planet?
Also, why you need aid in the first place if you are a god.
I do not understand.
You want us to aid you. You claim to be God. What is your purpose?
I do not understand. My purpose is what they all believe my purpose to be. But they all believe such different things.
What do you believe?
I believe that a God is loving and kind. But they all believe that a God is destructive too.
I believe a mother should be good and kind, but mine was destructive. Underneath those lies of goodness and kindness, people tend to believe they want to be good, but the things they do belie that decency. You cannot judge your faith on us. Whatever you are, you need to do what you believe.
Ro kind of has a light bulb moment where something clicks, and I'm not sure if it's right, but for Ro, she's like, I'm pretty sure I figured this out. And she just kind of scratches her head for a second. It's like, wait, are you trying to be the god for all of these different factions?
There are so many. They all worship a god or gods. They all believe so differently. There are some
That'd be
who
enough to
believe
make
their
me
god
cranky too.
is a warrior, a fighter who brings destruction. There are others who believe God is loving. Which should I be?
Well, hey, look.
Should they not all believe the same, so that they may be one, united?
Well, hey, look. I come from a place where everybody's super religious, and everybody tells you how you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to believe and all that. And she just kind of points to her hair and goes, I'm not one for conformity. Uniform that I usually wear aside. So what do you want to be? Just forget all of those people for a minute and just be yourself. You don't have to try to be all things to all people.
But I am God. They call me God. I do not like the
Oh, people
violence.
call me
It is
People
confusing.
call me a lot of things too. Doesn't mean I'm actually that.
I called the woman that raised me mom, but she was no mother.
So I am not God?
At this
I
point,
don't know.
Alira's in the back, and she's not saying anything. She doesn't like to talk in large groups with people who think they're God.
Understandable.
But she's gonna inch forward and be like, can I you don't like violence, right?
It is confusing.
Then why are you
Violence.
causing it?
I have to understand. The creatures, the red ones, and the ones with the wings, are one of the few universal things between all on this planet. And they fight. One is bad and the other is good. It is a violence that they all believe in. Or have I misunderstood?
Alira
They
gets
diff-
really like wide-eyed and pale and like kind of sinks back into herself and goes, I think you misunderstood. Take it away, Siltek. And she's gonna walk back around. She's had her fill of being confrontational.
They're not different. You made them both. We saw the energy. We saw what they came from. They're all the same. You just put skins on them. This isn't faith. This isn't belief. This is showing people pictures. This is a movie. This is false prophecy.
But it
You
is
are doing
what they
far
believe.
more harm. You are showing them things that are not true. You are taking their beliefs and turning them into their fears. and their hate. You are amplifying the darkness, not shedding light. You want to be God? Guide them to something better.
So
Where did you come from?
Always a good
am.
question.
I am. They stand upon me. They visited here. They proclaimed this. Their holy land, all of them.
You say they stand
And
upon you?
the energy that I have, I use. They called me God, so I became their God. That is what I must be. So I use what I am to show them what they believe. But there are so many I no longer know what is right to believe. They are all so different. But you say, I am not a god.
I think it's not for you to decide. You showed us your words, and you showed us images from our own minds. Surely you can show all of us what you truly are. Everyone, all at once, and let them make up their mind if you are truly God once they have finally seen you.
Doctor. And this ball of light has no face, but you almost feel like it's looking at you, Malco. Do you understand when I say I am? All around, I am. Where you stand, I am. This light is an extension of what I am. I cannot show the people because I already am. And from your evaluation, having some background in psychology from Starfleet training, this thing sounds very confused, like it doesn't know how to explain itself.
We do understand that you are you and you are here everywhere. I think the question or the point that was being brought forward by my team was, how do we help you be you? How do we help you not be everything to everyone?
That is for you to decide. That is why I called people here to answer. You say I am not a god, which means I do not have to make sense of faith. I do not have to trouble myself with which god I should be. I do not have to trouble myself how to make them all believe one unifying belief. But if I am not a god, what am I other than this? What do I do if I cannot be God for them and bring them joy? It is all I have known since creatures first stepped foot here.
Alira steps back out from behind Siltek and looks up. Am I looking up? Looks at this being formation
It's
of a
literally
being.
like a ball of light.
This ball of light. Sunglasses out, folks. And she is gonna say, so you want a purpose?
If I am God, I would like to know for sure what the beliefs are of the people here. One unifying faith so that I am not confused as to what to be or how. But if I am not a god, then I need to know what I am. That is what the people call me. That is what I give them.
Lyra is gonna kind of look and think for a second and be like, so you need something that unites the people.
Do I?
Can Ro interject something very quickly? Hearing the
Yeah.
way the conversation is going and making a realization, Ro's just gonna quickly talk over somebody if she has to, but go. So if we're dealing with a life form we didn't know was here and is native to the planet, I think the Prime Directive applies. So we should probably tread carefully here. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, we're super
Sirs?
screwed.
Sirs who make the decisions and I follow the orders.
So
Commander Farron,
out,
you still got that knife? May I?
out of the four of you, very quickly, who was involved massively with communicating with the previous entity that you met?
Technologically.
Unfortunately, Darby.
Yeah. Illyria, you were there, right? Illyria and Malco, you were both
Yeah, we set
aiding
up
in that.
the machine.
Yeah, we helped with that. Yeah.
Okay, so could both of you just roll me a reason... Ooh.
Reason, intelligence.
Either reason
planet.
command or reason medicine
Ooh,
test.
reason medicine for me.
Difficulty
There you
1.
go.
Okay.
Reason.
Why you do that? You don't mind
Mm.
handing me that little knife, do you? I was going to borrow that just for a second.
We still roll 2 die, right?
You're making these tests independently. You're not aiding each other.
Okay.
Chicken nuggets. I got 1 success.
That is enough.
Oh no. That is 0 successes for me.
0. Do you have any talents that allow you to reroll stuff on tests using medical?
Gotta have like defibrillator or something. Give you a second chance.
Right.
Come on.
I have the bold medicine, field medicine. Practice makes perfect, but I'm not treating anyone.
No, fair enough.
Yeah. I
Okay,
don't think
well-
So
Illyria has it. Illyria, as you've listened to this entity speak, it reminds you of something. The last planet you were on, the entity that you spoke to was that strange darkness that covered the planet. This huge creature that it took a planet to hold it and its children. And you were in the room when it told Tristan that on its travel to this planet that it had chosen to terraform, it passed another like it, but not it. Another creature that it recognized a similarity with was not it. You know from scans that you did that that particular Krillin pod that was responsible for releasing that larger hive mind would have passed not close to here, but through this system. You remember this distinctly as this thing is talking and the way that it is talking about itself. It takes you a bit, but that memory bubbles up. The fact that the Krillin pod sensed something like it, but not it. As big and as vast as it, but not it. Not one of it, but something else.
I think. So, okay. So Alira was on a mind track of what she obviously thinks is the fix to everything, technology. But at this point, she's gonna turn around with and you realize that she's like, aha, and in casually vague words, share that information. When you're look at your best friend and you say the name and the place and you're like, you know what I'm talking about? And
You send a
she'll
vague
hear that.
text across the room and you're waiting for the response that says, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Alira's in this really weird position because she feels like she can help, but she's so anxious to like talk to this being of
What is Alira
many
thinking right
consciousness.
now then? Tell me that. Rather than what she wants to say but doesn't, what is she thinking?
She's thinking that if she can find a common thread between all of the people and this being, whether or not it means that the being is like the god and fills all of the roles, if she can help the being fill one role inside of the communities, then the problem resolves itself. For Alira, that role is technology. This being is energy. It radiates energy. So if she can get this being to connect itself to technology, which can be used by everybody, then it fulfills a common need and it gives it an identity in which it has control.
As you think about this and you think about how to word it, and that anxiety kind of chokes you up from vocalizing it, you all hear that voice. My energy is limited. It is depleted when used, but it recovers. I can create. I create the creatures. They are extensions of me, but they do not exist past me. You probably all slowly begin to understand that past me means beyond the planet.
Right.
You are clever. And that only you hear, Illyria. That one statement.
That's fair.
If I am not God, and you all hear the rest, if I am not God, that is good. It is confusing. So much conflict in belief. But if I might unite them otherwise, I may still have purpose. I may still bring them joy. And all of you remember that just stepping foot here creates that strange sense of joy, of calm. But what may unite them?
May I see that knife, Commander Farron?
She begrudgingly hands it over with a look of like, you're giving this back to me, right?
Yes, ma'am. You do not need
Okay.
them to know it was you. You wish to be a just God? You wish to be the first just God? The thing they share is pain. And he'll reach out and he'll touch this orb and then jam the knife into his own palm. And he'll hold it there and he'll grit his teeth. This is what connects them. This pain and this fear. It is what connects all of us. It is what drives some of our worst and best instincts. And he'll pull it out and he'll hand it back over. If you wish
You're gonna
to
take some damage there.
Yep, absolutely.
Rose just like wincing.
1, 2, 4 points of stress.
Boom, boom,
Oof.
boom. All right.
Luckily,
So
it looks like a
blood's
lot of
running
the
down his
energy
arm.
from the knife has been depleted. Oh no, it cauterizes itself.
Oh.
It's a plasma knife, but
Well,
like
that's
the
good.
sheer, like it burns. It's not
Yeah.
like a nice little cauterize. You've just jammed a laser through your hand, basically.
Yep. There's
And you
this
see
whole
this-
sizzling as he's talking. Yeah.
Yeah, you feel this orb flicker as it experiences pain.
If you want to be
I
a just
understand.
God, if you want to be a quiet God and a good God, take away a little of their pain. Don't make a show. Don't make them afraid. Feed their crops. Keep their children healthy. Be a quiet whisper on the wind. So quiet, they not even sure if you're here. But they know that they love you and they love this place. But let them be. Otherwise, you're no God. You're just a tyrant.
So I do not have to be God. I do not have to be all the things they believe all at once. I just have to give them joy and not pain.
Just be that. And Siltic will open his arms. Open his arms wide, as open and comforting as he can, and he will go to hug this ball of light.
And it's odd because rather than hugging it, you end up kind of standing within it
Yeah.
as you offer this gesture, and you all watch as this orb kind of expands to cover Siltek, to cover all of you, as it radiates out from the peak of this mountain. And you can feel this thing in the back of your mind. And it's that feeling, you all know that feeling when you're thinking about something and you're just about to reach the conclusion. And you can get this sense from this entity. I only have to be what is good that they believe.
I
do not
spent
have
so long suffering like you do. I spent so long trying to know what was good. Stop trying to take on theirs and let me take on yours. Give me your pain. Let someone else carry you.
I only have to be what is good. I only have to be the angel, not the demons.
Yes. Be their better angels.
And you feel, all of you get the sense as if it's your own thoughts of understanding. You know that moment when finally the penny drops and everything becomes crystal clear in a moment? That is the feeling of relief that you feel wash over you. That background despair and frustration just melts away. Will you explain to the people? You will explain to the people. And Ro, for some odd reason, you feel that directed at you.
Rose's like,
You do not
wait.
believe in your prophets. But you shall be mine. In word only.
Rose's like, uncomfortable. She doesn't say no, but she's like, She's like that gives like an avocado. Thanks.
The entity feels directed towards you, Ro, but everyone hears it.
Yeah.
You are the one who does not believe more than anyone else here. So if you say it, it must be true. Though all of you will need to tell the people what I am, without destroying their faith in what I can be. You have solved my problem. There shall be no more conflict here. And the orb itself begins to dissipate. Like glitter in the air, these sparks of energy just begin to lose their effervescence and just disappear, and suddenly the night sky is there again. And you are left standing at the top of this beautiful mountain, looking out at this beautiful planet. This creature finally understands what it is. It is difficult when you go back to convince people. There are some who mourn in despair at the idea that their god was not a god, but others that see it as a new hope, that find a way to still see their god in the face of this entity. And you avoid any particularly large diplomatic incidents. There are small pockets of people who are unhappy with this news. But considering that you completed the pilgrimage, and for the most part followed all of the ritual steps, in fact, there were only 4 instances of it not being followed by a total of 3 people, but for the majority of it, you did all of them. Most have got no reason to doubt that this is word from the divine. And that is where we finish tonight with Ashgrave. as you help a being that has been so stuck. Yes, right.
I did want to do one last thing. So as the thing dissipates and we're all still standing there and everybody's like, I imagine probably silent for a moment, absorbing everything that just happened, Ro just chimes in. So on a scale of 1 to 10 with the Prime Directive, how screwed do you think we all are?
Siltek just shrugs. How do you know that we weren't supposed to be here all along? This may not be heaven, but it sure looks like paradise.
Somebody get me
That's
back
good,
on a
that's
ship, Alira.
Damn tricorder or a photon torpedo. Get me the hell off this place.
Those of you with that brought your combatants with you can get beamed back aboard the initiative and beamed back to the center. Those of you that didn't do have to make the long journey back, which is a 4-hour trek down the mountain, retrieving your stuff, and a 2-hour drive. Presumably without Ro, because...
Wait a minute. Wait. Can't they go like 2 to beam up?
Ro, go back down.
Can't they go 2 or 3 to beam up?
If
Do
they
we
want
have
to.
I'd rather
You
do
took
that.
my
Ro,
knife,
go back
just
down.
Stab your own hand. I'm not doing anything anymore.
Fine, I'll
And,
walk back to my side.
So next week is our finale for this game. And so we are going to catch up with all of you and all of your characters about what just happened at the start of next week's session, because I do want to see that. And next week should be a really fun finale. I've got something very fun planned that I think particularly Ro and Illyria are going to love. So this should be fun. But that is pretty much it for tonight's session. So I want to go around, see how you're all feeling about it. And you can let us know where we can find you on the internet for more awesomeness. So let's go the other way around this time. And Max, how is that for you?
Oh my goodness. That was amazing, and I loved the entire portion of that adventure. I was trying so hard to wrap my brain around how to deal with this problem that I was like, I don't. Okay, and I'm just gonna I'm gonna take a step back because everyone else seemed to have it. So, that was seriously so much fun. But yeah, you can find me everywhere. I am MaximusJ07. You can find me everywhere on Twitch and Twitter at that same handle. I stream occasionally here on Twitch, and I talk about TTRPGs and video games and other fun things over on my Twitter. So come say hi and drop a follow.
Awesome. And very quickly, I do want to mention, because I do not want to forget, but we had Kutamala, I believe, I hope I'm saying that name right, gifted 5 subs in the chat a little while earlier. We're in the middle of a tense scene, so I couldn't call that out then. And what we have decided is that we are going to make a boon happen. There wasn't really much to use it for this session, but for the finale, I am going to have an open boon. So rather than gifting it to a specific player, I'm just going to have a boon there that you can all collectively agree to use at some point if you wish. And I will make that a kind of slightly souped up version of the kind of minor narrative boons that you normally get from things like the retweets and the donated boons. So thank you so much, Kulamala, for those 5 gifted subs. It's really awesome. And you've just given our players a pretty powerful boon to have here for that. So thank you so much for that. But moving on to people that are fantastic, we have the wonderful Jordan. How was that for you tonight?
It was so good. I really, truthfully, I am a role play player to a T. I love combat, but when a little adventure ends, not necessarily with the resolution being conflict, I absolutely adore it. So, was a huge fan of that. As always, I love playing with you guys. You're so fun. It's like a light of my weekend. But I am Jordan, aka Sassy with Sander. You can find me at Sassy with Sander on pretty much every social media. Follow me on Twitter for all my shenanigans. I also help run Jan Game Streams, where we play video games and goof off. And I am also Adina from Fate and the Fable Maidens, an all-women family-friendly podcast that you should check out if you haven't already.
Awesome. And then moving on to the equally awesome Aram. How's it going? Our Cardassian cowboy.
That was a tremendous.
How was that?
First of all, Fate and Fable Maidens is fantastic, and you really should listen to it. It's great. I had a wonderful time. You all are gorgeous people, and that was. I need to say one thing. My mom is a saint. I know that I was plumbing some depths there, but my mom is the sweetest little Irish Catholic woman you would ever meet. She's shown me nothing but love and kindness. When I told her I was gay at 15 years old, she had one little Irish Catholic tear, and then she threw her arms around me and said, "I love you no more and no less." Did not even hesitate. So any of this is not pulling from my real life. I just need to make that clear. But it was wonderful. It was a wonderful story. I think we explored some really neat themes, and I had a great time. And if you want to see more of what I do, you can find me on Twitter at Vardian. And tonight I'll be running some of my good friends through an insane 5e revised Castle Amber. So if you want to check that out, you can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Godsfall.
Awesome. Well, and then finally, last but definitely not least, the wonderful Raven. How was that for you?
Hi. Oh, that was great. I loved that. I loved every bit of Alana Rose just constant discomfort and and nervousness about everything. It was so much fun watching her just be so cringe the whole time. And that last part was a nice surprise. And getting to do the whole, just, oh, thanks. I hate it.
I really like that you figured it out, because I was like, I want to see who figures it out first, like genuinely, before I kind of drop in and kind of tell them. And
Yeah.
you got it. You were like, wait, are you trying to be everyone's god? I was like, someone got it.
Yep.
Yeah, it literally was like a light switch. It was just like, oh, I get it. It was great. It's fantastic. Fantastic adventure. I really enjoyed it. Where you can find me and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
where can we find
what
you?
I do. So, I'm a tabletop streamer. I do a lot of different stuff. You can find out all about that at my Twitter, which is right there at The Raven. I do a bunch of composite art and other stuff too. But for the most part, I stream tabletops. You can find me next tomorrow at 7 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, for our series penultimate episode of Badlands, which is a time travel sci-fi show. So we're coming up on the end of the entire series, which has been running for 3 seasons. So it's going to be really exciting. I'm both happy and sad for the next couple episodes.
Oh, awesome. Definitely check that out, friends. So last but not least, I'm Virginia, and I have been your GM and the GM to this wonderful crew here that I love so very much. Next week is our finale here for Star Trek Adventures, Star Trek Initiative. So definitely don't miss that. I've got a good fun one planned that should put everybody here through the ringer. Hopefully. In all the good ways. You can find me at Tabletop Horde on Twitter and the same on Twitch. I stream lots of video game stuff, and occasionally I do follower voted streams every other Monday where you can vote for what I stream over on Twitter. So if you want to see more of me, you can check that out. And you can also find me over on Black Cats Gaming as Mara Oakhart in our Song of Ice and Fire game. But before we disappear, there are a few people we have to thank and things we have to let you know about. So first of all, big shout out to the wonderful Darby, who isn't here with us tonight, but he did do all this amazing character art that you're seeing. So if you want to see more awesome art, you should definitely go and check Darby out. I believe he is Pixel Justice on Twitter. If you enjoyed this game, you can pick up all your Star Trek adventure stuff from the Modiphius web store if you go and take a look. This adventure is from a book called Strange New Worlds, which is the second of the mission compendiums, and this adventure was written by the wonderful Andrew Peregrine. It's a fantastic adventure, and there's more amazing adventures just like that in this book. Additionally, don't forget our partners at World Anvil have got a discount code for us because they are wonderful and sponsoring the stream, which you can check out by typing in !World Anvil. And Wormwood also have a discount code for us as well if you type in !Worm in chat to check those out. Please don't forget to sign up to the community on Discord. That way you can keep up with everything that's going on. You can let us and the cast know if you enjoy the games, chat with us all, and you can also sign up for the one-shots that are going to be happening after the finale next week for Trek that are happening in this time slot, the open casting calls for the next season, and the charity meat grinder coming up, which is raising money for the wonderful charity Rain, and that is on the 26th, so make sure you don't miss it. Monday as well, talking about finales. Monday is the finale for Crownland. So if you've been following that incredible Game of Thrones game here over on the Monday nights, make sure that you're tuned in for that Monday finale as well as ours on the Friday. There is no Haunting of Seawall Orphanage tonight, unfortunately. They are on their mid-season break. I've been told they're doing some wonderful little tweaks to the system and stuff like that, but they will be back next week with another episode. So don't forget, after our finale next week, you gotta stick around for Haunting of Seawall Orphanage by the DM'd by the wonderful Donathan Fry. But I think that is pretty much us for tonight. Thank you so much for coming along and joining us as we ended this particular adventure and go on to the big finale adventure next week. We will see you then. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we will see you all next week. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye, friends.
See you then.